Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
61 yards on the drive so far. The Bengals started at their own 25. They're down to the 14 of LA, trailing by 3. Burrow gives to Mixon. Joe finds room up the middle. He runs into the end zone. Nice. Touchdown! Nice. Bengals!
You know, you got to get that first win. And it changes everything, changes the week, changes the momentum.
3 receivers out to the far side. Lone receiver to the near side. Hurts at the gun. He's back. He steps up. He's looking. Still looking. Has time. Lets it go. And it is complete. Touchdown! 11 Zacchaeus. You give Jalen Hurts enough time. Zacchaeus got open, and Jalen threw a 34-yard strike.
Excited to get ready to play Michigan, play a Big Ten team at home. Excellent team, number 2 team in the country for a reason. So great opportunity for us, experience for us. Love to see tomorrow Heinrich and Jeff in terms of who can, how they practice. Obviously, Heinrich didn't finish the game. We don't think it's much, but I reserve judgment until I see him. See where Jeff's at, so we have a full picture on that. Luke Reimer, still will be questionable for the game as we sit here right now. So we'll see. We'll see where he's at. With that, I'll see what questions you guys have.
Well, I've got a lot of questions here on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla on a Tuesday. I'm sure we'll get to, some of them at least. We'll see how it goes this morning. We are with you on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and, of course, Twitter, YouTube, and everywhere you find your podcast as well. Good morning, Damon.
What up?
How you doing?
It's great to see everybody. Thank you, guys.
Shane's in one of those moods today?
I'm not messing with Shane. Listen to this dude just cussing up a storm for no reason.
You in a good mood or what?
Named some anger management. It's all good.
Well, listen, I think everybody could use a little, anger management therapy, learn how to deal with their big emotions. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody, but I know he could.
I mean, most
because iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, it does. Occasionally, sometimes you get a few sparks, but it's temporary.
Yeah, it is. And, I hopefully everybody gets in a good mood as we get going this morning. Have a good time. My day got off to a little bit of a rough start, just putting the headphones on this morning. I put my man bun in the wrong spot.
Yeah. And
so it's like sitting on my headphones funny. It's not great.
Yeah, we're
going to have to figure that out during the break.
So between almost falling off the stage yesterday, tearing my hand up pretty good, I was backing out of my garage in a hurry last night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, banged my mirror.
Oh.
So it's cracked. Looks kind of.
At least you didn't get the door.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, vehicle, good shape. Mirror,
not in great shape.
Not so much. It'll probably be one of those things like you try to get fixed and then it'll be like $300. And you're like, for what?
Yeah. Everything on a car is more expensive than you think it is.
Yeah. It's kind of weird like that.
That's also how I feel about owning a house, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything for a house is stupid expensive.
Yeah. But outside of that, man, I mean, my Mariners, they're not really mine. They're mine for
your pick. Yeah.
They apparently don't want to get to the playoffs.
No.
Because I think that's 4 or 5 in a row. And you're going against the Astros. Verlander looking like Verlander, unfortunately. Castillo still just kind of plodding along. I would have loved to have seen Seattle win last night, but I watched some very average football.
Yeah, that's the right way to put it.
I'm not a big fan of the doubleheader.
The dual Monday nights?
No. I like a lot of football, but I just don't like it at once.
Okay.
You got to go picture in picture or
split screen. It's not great.
I don't love it, but and it wasn't like great. It wasn't great football.
No, not by.
If you don't love it, leave it.
No, listen, I heard Coach Taylor in the open. Win changes everything. I don't know if you're Seattle or Cincinnati. That does not look like a good football team.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned.
Doesn't look like a good football team.
About not just my Super Bowl pick, which is looking not great right now.
Podge, I love mine, although I still wish I would have taken Kansas City instead of Buffalo.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with that. Like it could be.
You could have picked Cincinnati.
No. Cincinnati was one of my regression candidates.
Yeah. Well,
but
they
I actually and remember the consternation and the hand wringing over the picks was what to do with Miami.
Yeah.
So that may come back to haunt me.
Yeah.
Although it's early for them too, and not everybody gets to play Denver every Sunday.
Although it would be nice if they could, right?
So I think I read somewhere. Was it pro? It was Denver had 20 some odd missed tackles.
That's a lot. That's too many.
So you know what's funny? It sounded low if you watch the highlights because there were like 3 particular plays where they missed like 4 on a play.
It's like those offensive rebound numbers, like you get 6 on one.
Yeah, it's like Russell Westbrook all over again, right? It's like getting his own
misses 4 layups in a row and gets the rebound. So I couldn't tell on
which, by the way, if Lillard goes to Toronto, I will not be happy.
Why?
I don't want him buried up there. I mean, I like the city. It's expensive, but
yeah,
I don't want to see him get buried up there.
I mean, Kawhi didn't get buried up there.
Yeah, it took the one exceptional blip on the radar, but I always love when people give me the anomaly.
Well, I mean,
let's talk franchise history, not the one-time scenario.
Okay, I mean, did Vince Carter get buried up there?
Yeah, he absolutely did. That's why he forced his way out.
Well,
next example.
He was plenty famous in Toronto.
Next example.
Vince Carter was plenty famous in
Toronto. What was Toronto doing while Vince Carter was famous in Toronto?
So what do you mean by buried? Do you mean not a good
So
team
he's going from
not?
Portland where he can't win to Toronto where he won't win. That's not what I want to see from
That's
Teddy
fair.
Lillard.
When you say buried, I think people will forget about him.
Yeah, you can always get clarity.
Okay.
you can
always. I get it's going to be one of those days. All right.
Right there.
Well, sometimes this happens. We're quick to go all in.
DB's
and then,
coming with some vinegar.
And then after 15 minutes, it'll be like, well, let's get the definition. Sometimes if we do that first,
yeah,
it
yeah, but then what are we going to do with the rest of the segment?
We won't have to go all Jack Nicholson. And who was he in anger management with, Shane?
Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Oh, that's your guy. I forgot.
No, it's not really my guy.
Well,
I'm okay with Adam Sandler.
So you didn't tell me lots of funny Adam Sandler
I told
stories?
You one funny Adam
That
Sandler.
was it?
Yeah, the GOAT. That was the only one.
Which was kind of weird because I'd never heard of that before.
It's like a stand-up deal. He was doing...
your reenactment kind of made it funny?
I mean, his version is funnier because he does it professionally, right? But no,
his stand-up is legit.
Because he used to do albums of weird comedy songs and stories and stuff, and this was on one of those.
The old GOAT thing
from the mid '90s. It was ridiculous. It's a super strange thing, but when I was a kid, it was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard.
I'm gonna have to Google it.
It might be one of those things that you only enjoy now because you liked it as a kid.
So I feel like I got to stop going back and revisiting that because it's ruining my childhood.
Revisiting things you liked as a kid
that aren't very good anymore.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes they only hold up because you still love them, and sometimes you realize, oh, this is bad.
You know where it really manifests itself the
Where?
most? I had some terrible taste
in clothes, music, all of it.
Movies, TV shows,
Friends.
Hello, Friends. So I say that at practice 20 times, and there's only a handful of people.
Hello, friends.
There's only a handful of people that know where that comes from.
I do the no thing all the time.
Yeah, old Amy Winehouse.
Maybe.
No, it's it's a drop.
It is. It's from
was somebody doing Amy Winehouse?
Yeah, it was Family Guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's the maid.
Okay, yeah. I do that all the time. I only know it from drops from the show. I didn't actually see that episode.
Yeah.
And nobody has any idea what I'm ever talking about.
So we went through a spell where that was ridiculously funny. But no, mostly it's my taste in people. I'm like, ooh, I used to
Oh, I feel that. I'm a dramatically different person than I was in, say, college.
Yeah.
And so there's certain people from that time of my life that
you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah. So
and some of them are super cool and an age as well, and that's fun.
I'm not. I told myself, I think it was last week after I turned it off, I'm not going to go back and watch Jaws. I'm just going to try to remember. I'm going to try to remember that as it was.
Yeah, Jaws is tough.
You got on me about Scarface. That was fairly overrated now.
Yeah.
But there are a couple that have withstood the test of time. Friday was still funny.
That's fair.
Boys in the Hood is still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. 16 Candles, not funny anymore.
No.
Breakfast Club, still good.
Okay.
So there's a few of those. I'm just trying not to revisit.
Breakfast Club is the detention one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I get some of the like 80s teen ensembles confused.
Yeah, like you're still pretty. You weren't even around for Pretty in Pink.
No,
with, like,
I've
Ducky and
yeah, I wasn't born when those came out, but
yeah, I didn't really get into those, but Breakfast Club was fantastic. Even though I wasn't a big Molly Ringwald fan. Big Outsiders guy still.
Outsiders is I liked the book. I was a big Outsiders book guy.
Apparently the high school kids just read that. Caleb's big Outsiders.
Yeah,
guy.
it's a good book. It's quality.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Yeah. We watched it after, and I remember my teacher was cool and let us watch the movie after we read the book.
Shane, didn't you tell me like Ocean's 11 was the equivalent to that of current movies where you get that many stars?
They do that once about every 10 years or so.
Yeah, you get one of the big ensemble casts.
Yeah.
Ocean's 11 is pretty stacked.
I never saw it. I probably should
Really?
have. Yeah.
Oh, I like that one.
So
but again, I saw it when I was like 14.
When did that come out?
2001.
So there's a lot that happened that I missed.
You just kind of a blind spot for a certain era.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair.
Early 2000s is one of them.
See, and that's kind of my sweet spot because I was in high school. So I had nothing else to do, right?
Yeah.
You're in high school, so you just watch movies and consume pop culture.
Yeah, that was early 2000s is not good for your guy.
A little rough patch there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Total blind spot.
Yeah. No.
Kind of like looking at my passenger side mirror.
At least you didn't run into the like garage door.
No. But I have done that. That was some years ago where
Yeah.
it wasn't open, and I just kind of was
Forgot about it.
Yeah, it was in the morning. It's kind of a fog, but yeah, and I was rushing because I had picked up some food, and when I walked in, it was only one bag, but I knew what I ordered.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and it's a young guy,
Yeah.
really young guy, like in his teens,
Mm-hmm.
nice kid. And I said, "Oh, you got everything in one bag? Are you?" And I saw 2 bags sitting up there.
Mm-hmm. You're like, are you sure?
3 times.
Like you're super sure.
Listen, 3 times. And I said, "So hey, can I get a receipt?" And I just had my hard time printing it up. And I said, "Oh, well, the order's on the bag here. I can always go back and read it." He's like, "Okay, have a good day." Got home. Yep, short a bag.
Yep.
So I called back, and I wanted to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
You want to go hard in the paint?
Because I saw the older gentleman kind of sitting in the corner, like I felt like it was like Kung Fu Panda, and he was like the sensei, and he was watching this little dude work, and so he was super apologetic, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I'm not going to do the dialect, but
It's probably for the best, yeah.
Yeah, not going to do that." So he goes, "Yeah, I heard," and he's like, "Hey, so sorry about that." And so I said, "Hey, can I get such and such included?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, no problem."
Hey.
So it's roughly an 8-minute drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't ready. Yeah, it was easy.
Were they
right?
remaking the food or the add-in?
They added.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, short story long, I'm like, you know what? How about a sandwich?
They got a pickle
Yeah,
on the chicken sandwich.
So kind of in a fluster, backing out.
Yeah.
And it was weird because I barely hit the thing, and the mirror just went.
Like the actual mirror or
The mirror, yeah, the mirror,
casing?
not the thing that not the
outside, the
yeah,
plastic
that's
part.
totally fine.
Oh, weird.
It is very weird.
How did you even hit the mirror without hitting the case?
So the case has to go first. So I don't know, to be honest.
That's what I mean. Like, that's
Yeah.
very strange.
I don't even think there's a mark on the case.
That's really
I think
weird.
it just went straight to the cheap old, and it's not even like a mirror. I tried to like put it back on, and it's like,
Yeah, it's like a film.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not like a real glass mirror.
no, I
That's
don't
why they
know.
break so easy,
Yeah,
because it's basically just a sticker put on a frame, basically. And that's a reflective deal, but
it's not good.
it's not ideal.
Yeah, it didn't even sound like that. It kind of was just like
Crunch.
yeah, crunch.
Yeah.
So it was like food.
Is this a place that you go a lot? The
No,
restaurant?
No,
Oh.
no, on a humbug.
Mm.
Wasn't my idea.
Just throwing family under the bus there.
No, it's actually a Caleb deal.
Okay.
Are you guys going?
Well, I think the boys in tandem.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of gave in. That won't be happening again.
I was just say, gets the article in the Athletic, thinks he can decide where we're going for dinner. No, that was good though from Mitch. That was really good.
You like that?
Yeah, that was really good.
You like that, huh? I think it explains a lot.
Yeah.
It's weird to hear what's going on in his head, him actually saying it out loud. But he had a couple of great one-liners.
Because are you mostly, like, when you talk to him, you're mostly just kind of like assuming or guessing?
Yeah, well, he told you exactly
Yeah.
how he thinks. He said, I don't really speak without being spoken to.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how the recruiting process went.
Yeah, he's not thirsty, if you will.
Nope. And remember, I said this like about 5 months ago. There were parts of this thing that was extremely frustrating.
Sure.
You know, just because I felt like there was a fair amount of, I think he's a little naive in terms of thinking that people think like him, and they don't.
Yeah, most people don't.
And you know, but he just has yet to learn to when and when not to conform.
Yeah, but that's tricky too. I mean, a lot of us haven't learned that.
Yeah, he's gonna
figure it out.
He's gonna stand his ground. That's why I was saying he hasn't really had enough experiences to deal with the repercussions or the fallouts of decision making.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and there's a time and a place to be adaptable, and there's a time and a place to stick with your kind of guns and convictions, right?
Yeah.
Learning
this was not one of them.
Yeah, learning the difference is tricky, right?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was really interesting, and I don't know Caleb at all, except for what you tell me about him. But I felt like it was very on brand for what I know about him to be like, yeah, I'm riding with the people that have been here all along.
Yep.
Like that was the least surprising thing I read in that article. I was that seems, because that's how you are too.
Like
that's
100%.
I like that's a chip off the old block there.
Yep.
And I get it, right? Like you don't want, like if they're,
you just never know why people are coming around as of late.
Well, right. Yeah. If they're kind of a Johnny come lately or a fickle type of recruitment process, then are they going to fall out of love with you as quickly as they fell in love with you? Like you want the people that are committed to you, right? Whether that's in recruiting or whatever else.
Especially a couple of the big guys late over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I was like, you guys were just here and you know,
yeah, it's like you could have,
like you were just here in the spring.
Like you could have,
but in their defense, he's just different, bigger, stronger, fat. Like so I get it.
And you know, we talked about this last week. There wasn't a ton of tape before.
No,
because of the injury last year,
and it was fairly average.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, outside of the state championship game, which was spectacular.
Yeah.
The first, because he only played 2 games before that, right? His junior year, those were fine.
Yeah,
you know, and so I get it from their standpoint, but I also understand it from Caleb's point of view, where it's like, hey, I want the people that have believed in me all along, right?
I was surprised that he opened up to Mitch the way that he did, and probably a testament more to Mitch's interviewing style. Like Mitch doesn't probably get it; he just takes it for granted. Like, you know, that was just Caleb. Nah, I mean, because I think a lot of those West Side guys felt a certain way about Mitch.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Had something happened, or
yeah. So the last couple of years, you know, it basically stemmed from a lot of the feedback from the first time we lost to Gretna in the state championship.
Okay.
And I think a lot of those guys kept receipts on what was said. I mean, because Mitch is a Gretna guy, and just a lot of deals. And as a matter of fact, he just tweeted out something last week, and of course, our guys like sent it over to me, and I saw Mitch Saturday, and he goes, "Oh no, like I didn't mean anything. That's not what I was talking about when I said that." But it's just like they're just kind of looking for.
Yeah, if you want to find something, you can.
Yeah, right.
Like
so, I mean, it was. But he did a really good job. It's funny learning about your kid in print. But anyway, it's when the hand wringing and the consternation over Yes, I want to just go back to yesterday's presser because Shane played Coach Rhule's comments about Jeff and who was healthy, and he wanted to reserve judgment. And all I could think about, because I'm listening to you go back and talk about the article, where you say things that are very intentional.
Yeah.
Coach Rhule is one of those people that says things, and it's very intentional.
For a very specific reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to I went back and listened to this thing like 9 times. I'm still a little miffed because now I don't know. You were kind of critical about some of the decision making at the quarterback spot, even though it turned out okay.
Who, me?
No.
Oh,
Coach Rhule.
Coach Rhule. Okay.
Right? Saturday after the presser.
Yes. Yeah.
I also know the conversation we had before the game.
Where you don't know what you got till it's on the field.
Right, where he's talking about quarterbacks. And then I listened to the press yesterday, and I'm confused. I'm really confused about how I think they handle
who we think is going to be
Saturday.
Out there on...
Because he kept saying at the end of the day, I'm going to play the person that gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah. That makes me kind of feel like they're leaning back towards Jeff.
Does it?
Yeah.
See, I'm a little gun shy after last week.
Sure.
Should I get back on the saddle?
I mean, listen, I'm wrong a lot, and I've just come to be okay with it. So
I don't know.
That's actually not true. I'm never okay with it, but I pretend pretty well. I remembered that whole podcast that we had last week, and I was like, yeah, I'm lying right now. I'm not okay with it. Yeah.
Hey, Robbie, it's important for you to be right, isn't it? Yeah, it's important for me to be right. Yeah. So do you want to know where that comes from? I was like, yeah, makes sense.
I feel like he's and again, maybe I'm parsing and reading in too much into things, but it worked out for me last week, so I'm going to do it again.
It got you a lousy McGriddle.
Listen, I didn't specify what kind of breakfast sandwich. We're going big.
So quietly, I think I caught a break with Kool-Aid Steve.
Yeah?
His girlfriend's coming up.
Oh, so you don't have to ship it out?
So I don't have to ship it.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh.
That's a big help.
Man, and he didn't send the text until I'd put my phone up. So it was after. It was dark.
Yeah.
It was in the 10s, maybe after.
I mean, it gets dark at like 7:30 now, right?
Does it?
Yeah, it's pretty early.
Freaking bats.
It is.
That's where the bats run around. It's when it's dark out.
Yeah, so that thing came across at it was 11:03.
Yeah, so that's late.
I knew it was late. It was after the 10s.
That's fine. I'm just saying if you just say it's dark, like that gives you a pretty wide range now.
Yeah, well, why are you being so particular?
Got it.
What time does it get dark? 8?
I mean, it starts getting dark at like 7:30.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
I saw 90s this weekend. Are you scared?
Why would I be scared?
Because it's a hot weather game, and apparently Michigan's coming in like the 85 Bears. I don't know if you heard.
I don't know that that's accurate. I don't.
Aren't you kind of getting that sense? Like the closer this thing gets, the more mythical Michigan appears to be becoming, and I don't think it's like that.
Yeah, Michigan has looked pretty average for Michigan.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
For Michigan, like for their standard.
But it's how they play.
I understand that, but they didn't look like this all the time last year. I don't know. We can get into that more. We've got.
It's funny that we're using this week as the litmus test for our defense. I don't know about that.
I don't know that this is the most dynamic offense they'll face all year. We'll get into more, and I will set up the show at some point on Benning and Lulla.
We'll be right back in 5 minutes. We'll be right back in 4 minutes. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We'll be right back in 1 minute. We'll be right back in 30 seconds.
I got black, I got white.
Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Yeah, we're going to play every team we play. No one came to the University of Nebraska to not play good teams. We started off with a tough schedule. We played on the road the first game. We started off with had some tough breaks in that game. Had a touchdown before the half. We thought maybe you never heard us complain about anything. We're not here to complain. We're not here to make excuses. We're here to play good football and win. We went to Colorado, top 25 team at the time. Probably still are. I haven't seen it. Played them. We're just going to play every week and battle. So this is a great opportunity. We have good players. We expect our players to play well. The game, this game will be about blocking and tackling, covering, getting open, making throws. So we'll just play it and do that for every week for 8 weeks and see what happens.
I got black, I got white. What you want? Hop Outside a ghost and hop up in a fan on. I know I'm about to blow. Oh, how you doing?
Welcome back to the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla,
That was
where
pretty black and white.
it smells like my downstairs neighbors came to visit us at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill outside.
Oh, they turn and burn?
My old ones did. Yeah, I don't have any downstairs neighbors now because my downstairs neighbors are me. But house you don't have, But yeah, it smells like.
So
smells
basically,
like
what you're saying before you didn't live in a house.
Yes.
Okay.
Smells like.
I'm a little slow, but I'm vibing.
Smells like there's a small fish concert happening outside the building here.
So you can smell that. I cracked the door.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I don't know if that somebody was blowing trees or that's a skunk.
Could go either way. But we've got a terrific
Shane,
show for you.
He's the expert.
He probably is. That's fine. To each their own. We're on AM.
You just totally rolled him for no reason. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
Rolled him. I see what you did there.
Well played.
I don't roll that way.
He could barely spit it out.
Good. That's a good one though, Shannon. I like that. We're on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We've got a great show for you here today. A lot of time for you to join us between now and 8:45. You can do that on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline, 888-638-4876, or on our yet to be sponsored email, thedbshow@hurrdatsports.com. But at 8:45, we'll have Chad Leistikow from the Des Moines Register to talk to us about Iowa football. Some guy named Mike Schaefer, who I'm sure I won't have any arguments with at all, at 9 o'clock. I don't know. From Husker 24. That's the wrong Mike, Shane.
Yeah.
There we go.
It is. Is he talking about?
He's probably talking about Tua.
Is he talking about Baker? Wow, going to Texas. Texas and what they've been able to do on their offensive line.
Yeah, they look like a real football team again.
I'm telling you, and my man T-Mac was telling me, like, they love, they stole their offensive line coach from Bama. So he and I always talk, not always, but like it's come up how they just like to maul guys up front and play a certain way. And Baker's recruitment, especially fresh after being in Lincoln. I mean, you understand, right? It's top 10 program, and I
mean, listen, it's Texas. Like, say what you will, but it's Texas.
Oh yeah,
that's a
100%
super high profile program.
If that holds true, things change overnight in recruiting. If that holds true, that would be a very good get for Texas. And Mr. Baker.
Yeah, Schaefer will join us at 9 o'clock from Husker 24/7. Then we'll wrap up.
Hey, Mac's getting dubs over there in Chapel Hill.
He really is. We'll wrap up with Sam Webb to cover Michigan from the Michigan Insider on at 9:45 to wrap up
big
the show.
Sam Webb guy.
Mac Brown. It's funny because I think they're 4-0 for the first time since his first stint in Chapel Hill back in 97, which I think was his second to last year before
Dre Bly and company. Greg Ellis, Ebenezer Ekubon.
Yeah, that was
it's a very, very good football team.
Super quality football team. Back before Mac Brown took the Texas job.
Before he made them a powerful player.
He did make them a powerful player.
Not really, but kind of.
I got to say, I'm pretty shocked at how successful he's been at North Carolina the second time.
Reinventing himself. But you know what? He did strike me as the type of guy that learned, even though he was old.
Yeah.
Like he told us he was going to change the way he was recruiting. He said he kind of got lazy. I got a buddy that loves Mac Brown.
I have to give him a ton of credit because I probably just wrote him off because of the age and he was just going back and whatever. And typically when guys go back to a place they've been before, it doesn't work out super well.
Yeah. But I think he was so motivated by how it ended in Austin.
Absolutely.
He was like, okay,
I've been
spent some time in the studio learning.
I've been super impressed, and I have to give – I know people around here hate Mac Brown, but –
they're playing better defense, too. That's the key. Yeah. That's what we were talking about with Matt Brown. Carolina's playing a lot better defense.
They are. And just super impressed with Mac Brown. And North Carolina looks like they might be kind of the biggest challenge to Florida State in the ACC now that Florida State just got past – listen, I said this yesterday.
Keep an eye on Duke.
Duke is really solid. I think North Carolina's more talented than Duke.
Maybe on offense.
Yeah. But Riley Leonard's pretty dynamic. Obviously, Drake May.
He's not Drake May, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's pretty dynamic, and he's maybe a little better with his legs, can win. Like Riley Leonard is one of those guys that can win you broken plays, I feel like.
With you.
And if you're a little bit undermanned, then that can make up the difference, right?
Yeah.
Like that can be.
Although May is pretty crafty with his legs, isn't he?
He is.
Buys you some time.
Yeah, he's more of
situational mobile.
Mobile to throw.
Situationally mobile.
Yeah, he's like more mobile to throw, where Riley will just make plays with his legs.
Yeah, and Leonard can absorb a little more too with his frame.
Yeah, he's a big.
Yeah, May looks
kid.
slight, even though I think he's probably a decent size dude.
Yeah.
But then I get the same thing with Caleb Williams, who's not a big guy.
No, he's short,
Yeah.
but he's pretty stocky.
But he's a little thicklet.
Yeah, he's thick with 2 C's. Yeah, he is.
Is one of those Caleb. Maybe his middle name's like Charleston or something. Speaking of Charleston, do you follow Charleston White much on anything?
No, I don't even know who that is.
Oh man, okay. We'll have to talk about that.
Okay, is that an off-air conversation?
I think you'd like Charleston White.
Hopefully, I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm questioning some of your social media taste sometimes.
I know, me too. It's a little suspect.
It is. It's a little
okay, so full disclosure, I don't know what it is though.
Yeah.
I try to be better.
Yeah.
I don't know what my problem is.
I think you
wait a minute. Though,
Yeah.
before
Okay.
you go all in, who are we talking about that I like is a little suspect?
Honestly, it's the Cajun dude. I hate that guy.
Oh, on my TikTok?
Yeah.
But he's such a good cook.
I don't care. I can't listen to him.
So if I play it again like 10 times in a row, will you still be mad at me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So there's another young lady that I follow, the one that's always eating.
Yeah.
She apparently just found strawberry frosted flakes.
Oh, that's a life changer for her?
Dude, the bowl she used was like a beach pail. And she put bananas in it.
Ooh.
And I was reading the comment section because I'm always here for the comment section.
Sometimes the comments
and
are better
apparently
than the video.
people rock with bananas in their cereal.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's a thing. I mean, they used to
My dad did, but it was like the plain Jane cereal. Like he would, it was
like grape nuts or something.
like cornflakes.
Yeah.
Strawberry frosted flakes have,
I mean,
and I guess there's strawberry
and
banana drinks.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. I don't like bananas in general.
Me neither.
I'm not it's a texture thing for me.
I'm not, they just don't taste good.
Yeah, so I'm not into that in general, but I always
I've never been a texture guy.
Really?
It either tastes good or it doesn't.
Yeah, I need both. I need to taste good and I need to be good texture.
I eat liverwurst. I eat scallops.
Yeah,
I don't mind Jello.
I like scallops. I don't think the texture of scallops is weird.
Okay.
It's like mushy stuff for me that I have a hard time with.
Yeah.
Like if it mushes in my mouth, I really struggle. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like cooked vegetables, I really struggle with.
Yeah, it's I think I reserve the right as an adult to not eat those.
Yeah. It's like when you go to the dentist.
How about Cluster hammering me last week on Twitter when he said, because I got on him a little bit about ordering Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that he ate Brussels sprouts. It was like that was his choice.
Like go to.
Right there. There's a
lot of other things to go to.
Yeah, the charcuterie board, the meat and cheese platter.
I love a good charcuterie board.
They got good smoked wings.
Yeah.
And my man said, yeah, and we're getting ready to go to a football game.
Yeah, and he's like Brussels sprouts.
He's like, yeah, these Brussels sprouts sound good. And I was like, what? What? But so he clapped back and he was like, yeah, as you get older and you stop eating chicken fingers and French fries,
I'll never do
your
that.
palate matures. And I was like, ooh.
My palate has matured from like Lunchables to charcuterie boards, which is basically just adult Lunchables. Like, listen, yeah, the palate matures, but I'm still not eating nasty vegetables.
My man said my social media follows are a little.
It's a little sus, I think we might have.
I think I'm gonna watch him over break and see what he cooks.
We might have to have an intervention here, and
you might need one,
and try and get you a little bit stronger on the social media game.
Oh my lord!
Oh my lord! I don't know if I can handle this anymore. We've got more of Benning and Lulla coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We'll be right back in 4 minutes. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We'll be right back in 1 minute. We'll be right back in 30 seconds.
You know, I mean, you think about when Coach Harbaugh first came in.
Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
You know, I mean, you think about when Coach Harbaugh first came in, you know, was taking over, you know, after, I can't remember if it was one or two coaches, and I don't ever want to be, but, you know, a couple of years of not being a great program after being a great program, and he recruited. I mean, I remember I worked one of his camps when I was the head coach at the Temple. You guys probably don't remember, but he was the guy that started the satellite camps, right? And it was a big controversy at the time, right? He was the first person to go at 12:01 to someone's house in recruiting. So I did that. You know, I didn't like doing it, but I did it because he was doing it. So he's had a real impact on the game. But his sometimes I'll have recruits say to me, like, "Well, Coach, are we going to be good?" And I'm, you know, what should I go to Michigan? I'm like, "Well, he did it," you know. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, so his blueprint for building that program for the way that they play, a lot of those things are similar. You know, obviously we want to have a little bit of an option element at times too, you know, so there's differences, but the overall arching blueprint for being great on the O&D lines, you know, having good quarterback play, being physical with tight end, all those things, that's what we're doing.
Let's go. No masterpiece.
Wrapping up hour number 1 on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla on a Tuesday.
It's a lot going on
There's a lot going on. Sports world, social media, off air, watching
my social media game is not as bad as you just made it seem.
Listen, I didn't say it was bad. I said it was a little sus. It was a little, you know.
A little mid.
You know.
Speaking of social media game, did you see Oregon's video that they released about Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah. To the victor goes the spoils, right?
Yeah.
Is that a little much? You're a receipt keeper. What are you talking about?
No, I'm not talking about that. So they very specifically were like, we're doing this for wins, not for clicks. And then it's like, click on this. And I'm like, okay.
They do it every week, though.
I get that, but you can't go all in, be like, we're not about that social media crap, and then be like, check out our social media.
I love the change in voice.
That's what I struggle with.
If I'm Oregon, I'm
right.
not talking like this. It's the people when I'm on to the contrary, but then when it's the other side, it's like,
oh, I'm this.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Like, you can't have it both ways.
So are you all in or all out on Lanning?
I think he's a really good football coach.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at what he does.
Pretty good at that.
I have no issue with that.
Took a lot of that Georgia swag with him.
Yeah, and the Georgia dominance on the lines with him, too.
Yeah,
that's
got some big, strong fellas.
That's the difference between Oregon before him and Oregon now.
Well, Cristobal kind of started. Yeah,
but I mean, like
some horses up front.
Cristobal wasn't there long, right? Yeah. So
longer than Taggart.
Well,
how about the stretch they went through in 10 years of coaching at Oregon? Isn't that something?
Yeah, because they had a pretty good amount of stability
with Chip.
Well, and before Chip,
and then
what's his name?
Your boy Helfrich, and then Taggart, and then Cristobal, and then Lanning.
Who was the
Is that 4 and 13?
Mike Bellotti.
Bellotti. Hey, Bellotti got it going though.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So I was trying to remember the guy's name before Chip Kelly. It was Bellotti. Yeah, they had some stability from Bellotti to Chip and even to Helfrich, right? Because they were all like, Chip was Bellotti's OC, Helfrich was Chip's OC. So there was some continuity. And then after they fired Helfrich, like, it got wacky in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
But they've seemed to right the ship pretty quickly. So that's something.
Yeah, Taggart only being there for a cup of coffee was very, very interesting.
Taggart's not a very good football coach.
Well, apparently if you can get past year 2 with him, he's okay, but it's a little...
I mean, I think Florida State went 3.
Did they, or did they get him out on the 3rd?
I mean, he was fired after the 3rd, I think.
Yeah,
I'm going to check.
They had probably seen enough.
I had certainly seen enough. I was out.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening for me.
South Florida?
No. Listen, I don't want to say he's a bad football coach. I think maybe jobs were a little too big for him. Because certain guys, like, they max out at a place or at a certain level, right? I think there's some guys that would be incredible group of 5 coaches that maybe can't really hack it at the Power 5 level. There's just a lot more going on there, and,
But in Lanning, you trust?
I mean, so far, so good, right? Like, I don't have an issue with that.
Were you cool with Deion's presser?
After the Oregon game?
Yeah. Or could you get past the sunglasses? It's kind of petty if you couldn't.
I don't care about the sunglasses.
Okay,
that's not a thing I care about. Like, I thought it was dumb that Norvell brought it up.
Just trying to get your opinion.
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't care about the sunglasses because.
Hey, do you mind the sunglasses or do you just?
I think they're okay.
You just don't care.
Oh, man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Yeah, there's certain things that I'm willing to acknowledge bother me about Deion, and other things that. I'm not one of those people that because certain things bother me about a person, I'm going to pile on about everything.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that.
Because that's annoying. I hate that.
Man, that is so refreshing.
Because listen.
Because sometimes I don't know your full degree of petty, but I know when you want to be petty, you can be extremely petty.
You have to reach a breaking point with me to where I'll go from, hey, this is okay. I don't love this. This is cool.
Because I think situational dislike is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm like that, and sometimes people like give me a hard time over that. Like, I'll read things from people that I know have written ridiculous things.
Yeah,
and I'll listen. If it interests me, I'm going to read it. If I'll listen to people, that say ridiculous things,
absolutely.
Because sometimes it's not always ridiculous.
The one thing that Deion has going for him is he's been doing this for so long. He's been this way for so long that it's almost the norm for him. I mean, it's hard to think back of anybody who has been this kind of a character, I guess, for so long.
He said, because some people will intimate this, that there's a difference between Coach Sanders and Prime, and he said they're absolutely the same people.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe him.
You don't think? You think? Yeah, because you kind of said this.
Well,
You think there is
There's a part of him.
There's a clout prime. There's prime that likes the clout.
Now, I think they get conflated sometimes, and I'm not even sure he knows where the line is, and that's probably why he says it that way. He says, "Oh, they're the same person." But listen, you can't tell me the same guy that's out there being like, "Hey, you can't step on our logo," is the same guy who's out there saying, "Hey, Henry Blackburn didn't make a dirty play. That's a football play. It was an accident that Travis Hunter got hurt the way he did." Like that speech right there, I was like, I love that guy. I can ride with that guy. But then he does all the other stuff, and I'm like, yeah, saying you're going to cut guys on camera your first day there before you've even met them all, like that's the prime that I don't love.
Let me ask you something. Since they're the upcoming opponent, how are you about Harbaugh? Because he had split personality is a little far. But Harbaugh has this weird ability.
He's got different facets of his personality.
Yeah, to check in and out when he's talking to you.
So he's almost like Bizarro Prime because he's not flashy. He's not.
But he can say some out there things,
yes,
but be extremely practical.
There's a lot of weird curmudgeon-y, like old man stuff with Harbaugh.
Yet he's spending the night with recruits.
Where he's like, hey, we didn't have protein shakes. It was called milk or steak or whatever. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you grew up in the 80s. You had steroid cocktails, man. Like,
wow. Well, he was playing in the 80s. He didn't grow up in the 80s.
Well, okay, he came up in the 80s is what I mean. He came up through football.
I mean, he and Jamie Morris, that was 86 in the bowl game, baby.
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, you can't really complain when, like, you were running around with.
Did you know Mike Tomczak started 10-0?
I did not know that.
Yeah. He won his first 10.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I know. You don't think Mike Tomczak and you think that, do you?
No, you don't think winner.
It's a Bears thing.
Yeah. But no, there's parts of Harbaugh that I'm like, you're a weird dude. You need to knock this off. This is being dumb. And then there's other times where obviously he's a good football coach. He knows what he's doing. He obviously knows how to build a long-term winner at different places. He's been successful everywhere he's went, and he's also worn out his welcome everywhere he's went, except Michigan so far.
This is long.
This is the longest he's ever been anywhere.
This is long.
But he's also tried to get out a couple times.
But I think it's weird because of the handful of coaches we talked about this morning.
Yeah.
There's only one we talked about consistency, and that's Coach Rhule. Mac Brown.
Yeah.
Lanning, when you did your whole voice going into character, the duality of Dion, the duality of Harbaugh. Yeah. We have yet to really see that with Coach Rhule.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like him so far.
He said so far.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe
are these back to the commitment issues you have?
I don't have commitment issues. Been married twice. I'm as committed as it gets.
I mean, it was gold. It was absolute gold.
It's just about circumstances sometimes change people. And I hope he's not one of those people. I don't think he's one of those people. But you can't tell me that Scott Frost was the same person when he left the job as he was when he got the job.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, there may have been some core things that were the same, but the way he acted, the way he interacted with media, fans, coaching staff, everybody was way different. Like, the job wore him down.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot got made out of that.
So I don't know. I would hope.
Whoa, you just had that in the Rolodex?
That's a deep cut there. I hope that doesn't happen with Coach Rhule.
Was that the whole puking thing?
So I want to give them a shout out.
He hated talking to the media.
But yeah,
I don't think there's a perfect way to do it.
Not great if you're the head coach at the University of Nebraska.
Sure.
So Taylor and I talked about that on Saturday, because I told him, I was like, full disclosure. Like, I wanted you to stop talking to the media.
Okay.
No, seriously.
I know, but it just, when you say it that way, it sounds a little.
Then you know what? He told a story how he apologized to Sports Information, and in particular, he told Keith Mann, he's like, I apologize. I wasn't always the easiest guy to deal with, and you could just tell that there was a ton of maturation.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't, because we're on 24 hours before the game starts, so you probably weren't listening. But at the very end, he said to Benny Mack, he goes, I just want to tell the fans that whether you like me or you didn't like me or whatever, like, I gave it my all, and that's all I want people to know about my career at Nebraska. And I was like,
I can get behind that.
Right? Taylor Martinez 10 years ago, no way he's saying that.
But it's like you said, it's 10 years on.
Yeah.
Like it's a maturity thing, right? It's a maturation process.
And he understood why I said that, right? Because we just were parsing, we were cutting up everything he was saying.
We did the same thing with Frost. We do the same thing with Rhule, but I think Rhule knows that's part of the job, so he's better at it.
Yeah. Do you know what word he used with Ben?
What's that?
Chills.
We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes.
It's not this caveman culture. That's the guy that that is in and of itself as much if I can make the most of social media.
We will be back in 1 minute.
That builds players up. It's not this caveman culture. But it's not this caveman culture. But it's not.
We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
But it's not this caveman approach of, just cuss the guys out, beat them up. It's about keeping everything within their proximal range of like, hey, you can do this. Never ask them something they can't do, but consistently stretching their comfort zone. How do you do that within the season? you have to blend sports science with mental toughness, and understanding that because of the attention that's on what these guys do, that is in and of itself as much, if I can make them all just turn off their social media mentions, I would, but I can't. So, that is one of the hardest things. You have to build mental toughness so that they can withstand. One day, everyone says something great about you, then the next day it's not. And so, but I do think it's about our entire offseason approach. It's really, Sam, everything that we do is to build a toughness and resilience that builds players up, not beats them down.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on a Tuesday.
That's consistent.
On the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. I want to tell you about our friends at Dingman's Collision Center.
First and last name. That's what we're on this morning.
Dude, I literally do that every time we come back.
That's what we're on.
You just never notice.
No, I do. We talked about it off air yesterday, sitting in this place.
I say the real name of the show once a segment. Okay. What would you like me to call it?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you come up with an alternative, and I'll say the alternative.
It's, I don't know. It's DB, man.
The DB show?
It's something. I don't
All
know.
right. DB and me in the mornings?
First and last name gives me the willies.
Do like a Marley and me, DB and me?
I never sat through that. Did you?
I did, and it was brutal.
Yeah, my dog had to go to the vet yesterday, and they put a little cone on his head. So
yeah.
I
have to take my oldest dog to the vet. I got to call him as soon as we're done here, actually. She's not doing super hot, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to see Dingman's.
Yeah?
Hopefully they can fix my mirror.
Yeah, they need to. And, you've got you got a Volkswagen out there?
Yes.
So what do they got, a Volkswagen? You got Tesla, Ford? They can help you out.
Better than a Tesla.
They've got the technology to fix any make and model, whatever you've got to them, because they've been in business for 25 years right here in Omaha. 18 years running, first place, best of Omaha, 4 locations throughout the metro. And maybe the reason we love them most, I mean, the reason Shane loves them most is because of Darcy, but the reason we love them most is because of their give back program. You can check that out.
Why'd you just bust roll my guy? Because everybody's got a crush. His just happens to be as a 60-year-old.
Listen, you can go back.
Most people typically grow out of that. I'm just saying.
You can go to dingmans.com to learn more about their give back program for every car repaired. Man, what were we talking about? I got totally distracted by rolling Shane there. That's my bad.
I know. I do have to give Todd a call.
Yeah, you got to get the old mirror fixed.
Yeah. Not happy about that. No, we were talking about consistency of the message.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I mean, so I hope, because so far with Rhule, it's been good, right?
He's been consistent.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean by good. The consistency has been good, which for me is a positive. I like that in a coach. I really, really struggle with people that feel like they're all over the place. I don't care what Dion says. He's 2 different people. Like, he just is. Because I've seen him sit down in what he did, that 60 Minutes interview?
Yeah.
And he's sitting down and he's talking about the growth of young men and all this stuff. And he's measured and he's making logical, coherent points. And then he's out there getting his guys riled up because Jay Norvell says he shouldn't wear sunglasses. And listen, is it a dumb thing for Jay Norvell to say? Sure. Is it a dumber thing for Coach Prime to try and make his entire motivation for that week about sunglasses? Yeah, it's all dumb. I'm not about that. I don't and I think the thing that bothers me the most about it is he can't possibly believe this style of motivation is sustainable.
It typically does not work over the long haul.
Yeah, and listen, if you have to do this for Colorado State, okay, you've got Oregon and USC and UCLA and Utah and Washington State and Oregon State coming up. You know what all those teams have in common? Ranked and a hell of a lot better than Colorado State. So you got to pull out all the stops to get motivated for Colorado State? What are you going to do for the rest of your schedule?
I think you told me you just liked him to pacify me. I haven't heard one thing in the last 4 months that would lead me to believe you remotely like Deion Sanders.
I'm trying to,
which is totally fine.
I like Coach Sanders. The thing that he said doesn't exist, the dualities of his personality. I like Coach Sanders.
You just don't like Prime.
I don't love Prime.
Right.
Because all the stuff that I don't like, I would file under the prime stuff. That everything that he does is for clout or in front of a camera or whatever, right?
Make $5 million on a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, and then people telling me
$5 million.
Yeah, in 1 week.
Yeah.
Over the sunglasses nonsense. And then people tell me, oh, he's not in it for the money. Okay, sure. All right. Why does he have a sunglass line again if he's not in it for the money? Remind me why the sunglass line exists.
He's already rich.
Has that ever mattered to a rich person you've met before?
Do they like get out of bed and say, oh, today's enough?
Yeah. No.
No, probably not.
No rich person I have ever met has been like, you know what? I'm set.
It's all about the lifestyle.
Good. Right? And so you've got people tell me, like, oh, you listen to how much he loves Colorado. It's like, yeah, go back and listen to how much he loved Jackson State. If it wasn't about the money, why isn't he still at Jackson State? He's going to go to the SEC in 2 years. Like, as soon as Shedeur and Travis are gone, he's going to the SEC.
Good point.
And that's fine. I don't care. But don't lie to me about it. Don't come at me and be like, oh, yeah, I'm so invested in Colorado, a place I hadn't been until 12 minutes ago. Like, he's got no connection to Colorado. That dude is from Florida. You're telling me he's got deep vested interests in Colorado?
Are you having a moment?
Yeah, apparently. Didn't really plan on this.
Oh, shoot. Let's go to Cody. Cody.
It's on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline.
Cody, what's up, buddy? How are you? Cody, you there? Hello, Cody. Commander Cody. Shane, do your job. Cody, good morning. How are you?
I'm trying to say hello, but all I hear is music in my phone.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
What do you guys got?
You're on now. What do we got?
Hey, okay. Well, first off, Damon, you know I've been on this train for 2 years, but we got 6 days left. Do you think the Marlins can actually pull it off without Sandy?
Yeah, I'm kind of cheering for Miami, so I hope you get it done.
Well, I would much rather have what we have left than what the Cubs have left.
Well, apparently bad teams enjoy keeping good teams out of the playoffs. If this last 3 weeks of the Major League Baseball season holds true to fun, goodness gracious. But they're not playing the Astros enough lately, because now that the Astros have the Mariners, they're back to winning again.
Yeah, that's true. So I wanted to ask you your thoughts on, do you think Scott Frost was actually a good coach? It was just the fraternity of other coaches that were making sure Scott Frost didn't have success?
That's a random question. I think
it's the whole Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, I know, and Oregon is still getting at Key. He says a lot of crazy. He says a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, I sent you a good video this morning.
I was checking. I was asking Ravi about that earlier. I was watching it again over the break.
Yeah. No, and then the other thing is, I'm drawing a blank on 31's name right now.
Tommy Hill.
Putting on offense.
Tommy Hill.
Tommy Hill. When is that experiment, like, is that dead, or can we start using Jalen in that role? Just because if this guy's coming on the field, we're obviously only going to be throwing a deep ball to him. What do you do? Do you put him on the field on offense more so you can kind of mix it up a little bit, or do you start using a Jalen or something to start running those go-rounds?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the call, Cody. I don't know what they're doing with those young wideouts, right? I mean, maybe you like Tommy Hill's maturity better.
Yeah, it sounded like, and I don't think the experiments, Cody, we appreciate the call. I don't think the experiment's ending anytime soon because of what Coach Rhule was talking about yesterday. It seems like he likes it. It seems like they're going to put him on offense more, which kind of goes to what Cody's saying. If you're going to play him outside of, hey, we're just going to have you run a 9 route here, which is sort of the same thing we've seen with Malachi a little bit, right? I mean, he gets a handful of plays a game, and mostly it's just him running deep, which is fine. And honestly,
like how they started the game.
Yeah, and it's
was that a tell?
I don't know.
Three verts.
Yeah, probably.
I don't mind them taking the shot play early though.
I don't either. And it's what people have been clamoring for. So I have a hard time having people yell.
You just don't like when it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not really here for people yelling about Tommy Hill when that's what the exact thing they've been asking for out of Malachi Coleman. It's like, yeah, I get that you want to like Malachi more than you want to like Tommy Hill because he's local kid. He's this big prospect and everything. You want to see him on the field. But you're asking for the exact same thing you're mad about with Tommy Hill. About, like, if Malachi Coleman's on the field, he's running straight down the field, and you're hoping you can throw it deep to him. That's it. That's all he's doing right now. I'm not saying that's all he'll ever do, but right now, that is all he's doing. And I can't tell you how many people have been telling me, it's like, well, just put Malachi on the field and run him deep. He doesn't need to learn all the routes. Just have him run deep. It's like, well, if it's a tell with Tommy Hill, it's a tell with Malachi Coleman. At least Tommy Hill has ran a reverse this year. There's a chance he might do something else.
You want to go out Sammy Mack? Get him the ball.
Like, you can't be mad at one and be okay with the other. It's the exact same situation.
Dude, that was fantastic yesterday.
Like,
God bless it.
You're struggling over here. Let's get to.
So what else is there?
Give Tommy Hill the ball. Get him the ball. Just give him the ball.
Let's get to.
Hey, just walk over, hand him the ball, and say run.
Give Tommy Hill the ball. Get him the ball.
Like,
dude, that was.
It's like Smalls running the ball in from the outfield in Sandlot.
Yeah. Just throw it.
Just hand it to him.
He's like,
you can throw it, right? No, he just runs it into second base.
That's that way.
On the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline, which we've got full lines right now.
Yeah, we're full.
Coach John is on the line. What's up, Coach? John, you there?
It's time for Damon to pay the piper.
Oh.
For dressing me down on the air yesterday.
Oh, my man, John. Yeah, John was the guy that we couldn't decide if he was being passive
You
or aggressive.
couldn't decide. I said it was fine.
So, and everybody had his back.
I didn't think that sounded passive aggressive.
John, everybody had your back yesterday. I couldn't believe it. They don't know you. Even the official liked him. They're like, oh, he's the insurance guy. I like him.
Now, where I need your advice, Robbie. How do you work with somebody that when you send him a text that you're wrong and tells him that he's right and what he did was really, really cool, and then he somehow figures out a way to dress you down in front of thousands of listeners?
Yes.
Now,
That was not a dressing down. So I can't remember. So John, did I say out loud when you said during the game?
Yeah.
Oh, I said that out loud. Okay, because I knew I was thinking that. Because real time, I totally ignored you. He goes, I'm sick of seeing number 9 make all these plays.
This is great. I love that you brought that up because what we hear during a game and what is said during a game is so crazy because I walk up to Damon and I whisper real quiet, "Hey man, 9's killing us."
No, he didn't. No, he did. John does not know how to whisper.
And Damon hears, "This guy's killing us." I've never put him on blast in front of
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
But you know what, though? You know what? I don't remember saying that. I was telling the story. Ben came over and goes, "Yeah, you did that."
Yeah, get him, Ben. Ben knows I'm a fan. Hey, here's the other thing. Could you explain to Robbie why the Beatles are so overrated?
Oh, come on.
Robbie's got your back on this, John.
Well, you get to the 15 or 16 number 1 hits, and you can maybe make the overrated argument. You get to 20. Come on, we're reaching now. So.
But you got real time. You got the I know it's a long drive from Minnesota, but real time you got the context of my point, right? Didn't you? No,
I did. I'm the same way about the Doors. I don't care for the Doors at all. That organ makes me want to puke. It's in every one of their songs, but I've learned to respect them because so many people like them, and so many, you don't get that popular by not doing something right. I just don't care for it. I think that's maybe where you're at with the Beatles.
Ray was the
you respect them, but you don't understand why you think they're the greatest band of all time.
Ray was
mostly because they had 2 of the top 5 songwriters that ever lived in the same band.
Oh, that now you sound like Shane.
Ray was the mind behind the Doors, and that's the reason why you hear that organ in every single song, because it's pretty much was his band, and he's the guy that played it. I mean, we know that.
Is that true, John?
those are big facts right there. And they are. People love them, and so because I used to get on them really bad, but then you start to go, man, there's how many people like these guys for me to be running them down all the time.
Hey, by the way, before I let you go, I went to go see Grant at school yesterday, Harpster. Hey, I can't. He listen. It made my day. This dude was so happy. He said the thing that's bugging him the most is that his handwriting is terrible because he has to write with his left hand.
We're talking about a kid who is the closest thing to Ronnie Lott at safety.
I told Robbie he unnecessarily gave him the business, and it cost him a buckle break.
Your story about I can't feel my hand. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's it. That's who he is. He's a tough kid. Yeah. All right, buddy. Be easy. I'll see you tonight. All right. Let's go to Joel.
Yeah, let's get Joel. He wants to talk about Dion. All right, let's talk about Dion. Joel, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Just wanted to, man, so all over social media, we're all dealing with it. We're all seeing everybody's opinion on Colorado and Dion. And there's no doubt he's making some changes out there. He's got the flash. But I like to cut through the smoke and see things for what they really are. And it seems like there's just two sides. You either hate them or you love them. But there's that in between where you got to see that, you know, everybody's like, why are you hating on Dion? Why does everybody hate Dion? And without the hate, he wouldn't even be Coach Prime. Yeah. He wouldn't, you know, he creates such an aura of, you know, that's what he feeds off of, like with the sunglasses, with the thing the guy said about his mom or whatever he switched, you know, flipped it into. But that's what he is. It's controversy, it's drama. And if he didn't have that, talking about he keeps receipts, whatever, and I'm not really a big fan of the way he does his things. It's entertainment, so I watch it, and I'm kind of just stuck in the middle, like, man, this is crazy.
Joe, are you vibing, Joel, with how he talked about how the reason that whole persona came about was when he was a kid and, you know, his stepdad was working. He had the situation with his real dad, and his mom was never at games, so he had to create the whole primetime thing. Like, that made sense to me.
No, it does. It does. I mean, and he's grasped onto it, and it works for him. It works, but you know, it's like, man. I guess my point is, it's just I see where he's coming from, and I respect all of his hustle. You can't knock any of his hustle or anything he's accomplished in his days, but you know, it's almost like the people that don't like him or don't agree with how he's doing things, they're trash. You know, he's all, you know, he just completely tries to dog him, but it's like, that's why he is what he is because of the drama that he surrounds himself with. I mean, you wouldn't be Dion, Coach Prime, if you didn't have all the haters and naysayers, and that's what he uses as fuel to the fire. So like, I mean, I had some people on social media, I just had to, like I said, cut through the smoke and see it for what it is. And I mean, he brings all that upon himself, and he likes it. So I mean, without the haters, I don't know. Someone said, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping. You know, like
that is Robert Saleh.
I mean, you're dang right. You know,
Joel, you sound like a guy I want to hang out with, man. I appreciate the call.
Appreciate it, Joel.
See, Joel sounds like a guy I could spend some time with.
Yeah, and listen, I understand all the stuff about Coach Prime. It's just not for me. It's like,
no, I get it, but that's what he's saying, though. Yeah. So, like, if
I would never trash him, like, I don't think he's bad.
If it isn't, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like you and the Beatles. Like, you can't acknowledge
that's growing some legs now. Like, remember, we were in the car 13 hours together. All right. I just said they were overrated.
They're not overrated. They're not for you, which is okay. I would never say Coach Prime is overrated. He's good at what he does.
But
he's good at what he does.
Okay.
That's the difference. Is overrated is taking away from what they actually do.
You realize somebody could be really good at something and still overrated. Do you know what overrated means, right?
Yeah, it means not properly rated to the good for them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like I understand that.
Okay.
But
so that can be a thing and them still be great.
That's fair. Are you saying they're still great?
Yeah, they were a good band. They were really good.
That's not what I asked. I said if they were great. And then you go, hey, yeah, they were good.
They were I mean, great for the era and what they did. Yeah, they were different.
That's the key, is they invented a lot of things in rock and roll that still happen. That's why they're important.
But they've aged ridiculously well.
They have,
without comparing it to how music has progressed.
That's fair.
That's all.
But my only point is you have to acknowledge how important they were to why music sounds the way it does now. That's my big thing.
All right, Mr. Well-Rounded.
Well, listen, I'm sorry. I like a lot of different things. One of the things I like is Asian Wyatt, because his daughter had one of the best T-shirts on I've ever seen in my life at the Breakfast Blitz on Friday.
Tough hang.
And Wyatt, what's going on, bud?
I don't know. What's the topic now? I might be bringing up old stuff. I don't know.
No, you're good. Let's go. Whatever you want to talk about.
We're talking. So are we back to trash talking? What are we on, Asian Wyatt?
I was thinking. I got more of a mid-hanging fruit question.
It's not low. It's mid.
Oh no, there's some.
Just like Damon's social media game.
Wow. Wow. See, Robbie's why we can't have nice things, Asian Wyatt. I'm just telling you. Kids can't have nice things.
What's up? What do you got?
Haven't brought up to China yet?
Yeah.
Haven't brought up to China yet for him.
Exactly. It's coming. I'm going to turn my back to him here in a second.
Okay, so I just want to know, what was the better burn by somebody? Was it Danny Lanning or was it Angel Reese?
See, real time, Angel Reese didn't bother me either. Right? Like I defended her
with the Caitlin Clark thing.
Yeah, with the ring. Like
I'm way more willing to give a pass or whatever to something that happens in competition.
Yeah, real time.
And B, kids. Like college people are kids. They're children still. Like
people don't like that we say that.
They are. Can you remember how dumb you were at 21?
Well, listen, I get it.
That's what I mean.
I get it.
Like I don't do kids based on age. I do it based on intelligence. There's some grown people that are kids still, right? Most college kids are kids still.
I would probably. I'm more at real time to give Angel Reese a pass. I think Dan Lanning overdid. Like he overdid.
Yeah.
Like
I'm just saying that. Well, one thing, Ravi, I guess college kids are a tough hang for you. And then,
they are, man.
So just one of them got a lot more controversy than the other. That's my mid-hang.
Yeah. Like I get what you're saying. Like it's cool when Lanning does it because he got Dion. It was not cool when Angel Reese did it.
Yeah, because we all love Caitlin Clark, right? Like she did it to somebody we like. Whereas with Dion, we got somebody that like maybe rubs us the wrong way a little bit. My big issue there is Dan Lanning was doing the exact same thing he was mad at Dion for. Angel Reese wasn't being a hypocrite. That's why I don't have a problem with it.
100%.
All right, coming up next,
that's kind of a deep cut how Asian White did that.
I know that. I wasn't expecting that. We love our callers here. We've got more of Benning and Lulla coming up next.
The show will be back in 5 minutes. The show will be back in 4 minutes. show will be back in 3 minutes. The show will be back in 2 minutes. The show will be back in 1 minute. The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Play the guy I think gives us the best chance to win. So it's unique in that I have a guy that was the starter that, couldn't finish the game really. And then I had another guy that was a starter this past game that couldn't finish the game. So I had two quarterbacks that couldn't finish the game. So for me to sit up here on a Monday and say, this is what's happening, maybe this isn't like gamesmanship. I mean, both guys do the same thing really. So it's not like my job is to get everybody ready because Chubba was going into the game as the number 3 and he was down there at the end of the game playing, right? So we get Chubba reps. Everything we do is reps, because I don't know who's going to play. I don't know who the hero is going to be this week. I don't know who the hero is going to be next week. So I don't know. So we just try to split the reps because we get so many reps because we're always doing multiple drills. It's the Nebraska way and we do it. So that helps us as opposed to most teams.
We're halfway through the show here on a Tuesday on the DB Show with Ravi Lulla. And if you want to be a hero to some young people in the area, you can go to Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh, how creative.
And go to mentoromaha.org. Sign up to be a big. Their mission is to support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. And let's be honest, if you're like me and you think kids are a tough hang, there's other ways to help out. You can donate money. You can donate tickets to events or matches. There's lots of ways to help out Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm more of a donation guy myself. DB is a quality time guy.
Yeah.
Listen, there's lots of ways you can help out Big Brothers Big Sisters because regardless of what type of person you are, you can see the value in what they do. Go to mentoromaha.org in order to sign up and get more information on how you can help out.
My man T-Mac not happy. He's making fun of Lanning because he beat up on a team he knew he was better than.
That's just totally a fair point.
And he took over a program that had double-digit wins.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of born on third base situation there.
Oh, I love those people that try to tell you they hit a triple.
Like Ryan Day, I think, is a lot like that.
See,
my guy was born on third base.
Can the verdict still be out for me with Ryan Day, or do you want me to pick a side?
You don't have to pick a side. And listen, just because you're born on third base doesn't mean you're not still a good baseball player. What I'm saying is you can't tell me you hit a triple. There's a difference there, right?
Yeah.
Like you could be a pinch runner and somebody put you on third base for the guy that actually hit the triple, which is totally fine.
You could be Terrence Core and still be serviceable?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can be Dave Roberts. He didn't get the walk. He stole second base still and scored the winning run. Like you can be that guy.
I love the Dave Roberts reference as a Red Sox than a Dave Roberts reference as a manager.
He was a Red Sox for 14 minutes, and it was the best 14 minutes of his career.
Oh. Did he do it? You're such a hater. I don't even know why I like you. Oh.
I mean, how am I a hater?
The throw to the plate.
I mean, you want me to talk about how great of a manager he is? Okay, fine. He's a good manager. Like, what do you want me to do?
Oh, my gosh.
He was like listen.
Shane, get this guy out of here.
You don't want to host the show by yourself.
Are you kidding me?
I don't want to host it, period.
Wish you would have told me that before I signed up.
My brain's not that big. That's the triumvirate behind the scenes.
No, but like there's a difference between there's some people that are born on third base and have that aren't good and they never would have got there on their own. And then there's some people like I think Dan Lanning's a good football coach. I really do. But he's still got an advantageous situation that he walked into.
Do you know how old Dan Lanning is?
42.
He's like 37.
What?
Like I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he is 1 year older than me. Thanks a lot, Dan.
That dude is 37 years old.
Get out of here, Dan Lanning. That's pretty young.
Very much so.
But no, he's
kind of lends itself to a little bit of your argument. Although I think he is a good coach.
I do too. Just because you walked into an advantageous situation doesn't mean you aren't still good at what you do.
How about this? From 06 to 10, he was at Park Hill High School.
It's not that long ago.
Okay. In 11, he was a GA at Pittsburgh. In 12, he was a GA at Arizona State. In 2013, he was a recruiting coordinator at Arizona State. 2014, he was at Sam Houston State. He was the DB's coach and co-recruiting coordinator.
So his very first on-field role as a full-time assistant was 2014.
Yeah, 100%. 2015, he was a GA back to a GA at Alabama. 16, 17. Are you sensing a trend here?
Mm-hmm.
11, 12.
My guy moves
13,
a lot.
14, 15, 2016, 2017. Linebackers coach, recruiting coordinator at Memphis. 2016, he coached OLBs at Georgia.
That's with my guy Norvell at Memphis, I think.
2019 to 2021, DC OLBs at Georgia. 2022 with Oregon, it's present. And he's 14-3 as a head coach.
You see that,
including 4-0 this year.
You see that a lot with younger coaches is they move quick now, right?
Yeah. Well, and we heard
that's the job.
Yeah, and Coach Rhule would tell you, like, I remember we were talking about two coaches in particular, and he would say, yeah, you know, when this guy's ready, I would say, hey, go do this for a little while, then come back and see me.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how
he's already, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it. That's kind of
that's the career path now. It used to be you could stay at a school for 10 years and move from GA to position coach to co-coordinator to coordinator, and then maybe someday you get your shot as a head coach. It doesn't really work that way anymore. Head coaches move too much for that to be really plausible.
11 years ago, Lanning was coaching high school.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, the same
We've
thing.
seen it with Malzahn. We've seen it with Freeze.
You saw with Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah.
He was on TV, on MTV as a high school coach in Hoover, and then all of a sudden as an assistant at Bama, he's the DC on Florida State's national championship team. I think it was 8 years between being a high school coach and getting the head coaching job at Tennessee. Listen, it didn't work out at Tennessee, but he was a great D coordinator. And like these things happen so fast now if you're willing to move like that. if you want to stay in one place for a long time, it's going to take longer.
Yeah, there's a head coach that we watched last night on television that had 30 hours to decide if he wanted to go be a wide receivers coach in Los Angeles after spending time in Cincinnati with the Bearcats. That would be Zach Taylor fielding a call from Sean McVay. How about that?
Yeah,
that's what happens.
That's the career. And honestly,
Taylor,
it's not.
You want to be Mike McDaniel? Shane, you look like, if you would grow your hair out a little bit, you'd look a little like Mike McDaniel. Although
Is
you're
it
not,
because I wear the sunglasses.
Although you're not near as cool as Mike McDaniel.
Is it because he's got the comb over?
He doesn't have a comb.
He's got a comb over.
Just because you comb it over doesn't mean it's a comb over. Like the comb over specifically to cover a bald spot. Like that's what you mean when you say a comb over. Just because he parts his hair to the side.
He parts it awfully.
I'm not saying he does a good
that's
job.
not even a word.
Whatever the hell it is.
Awfully is a word.
Oh, man.
He pronounced it a little weird. But
Wasn't pretty.
Shout out to Terrence Gore. I love that dude.
Nobody can do that.
I don't even know why he said that. But
well, I mean, it was a good example. It was a perfect example for what I was talking about. I said pinch runner, so the first thing you thought of was Terrence Gore. The first thing I thought of was Dave
because
Roberts.
I mean,
that's all he ever does.
Yeah, and
ever
for TG, like they had the dance, and it was like a craze. And we're appealing to the Royals fan base because we're right here in the Midwest.
Yeah, listen, we're on statewide, ESPN 590 Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
Well, you don't miss a thing, do you? You're like kind of quick.
I'm trying to make sure that
detected no sarcasm.
I'm just trying to make sure we get paid. I'm being totally honest.
You in a good mood or what?
I like cash and checks, Damon.
Yeah,
we being real here,
yeah,
like
100%.
I like it when the money goes into my bank account and I see the number go up. It makes me smile.
Spend time at V-Mertz and talk trash about the Dodgers and all the other teams.
I wasn't even talking trash about the Dodgers.
You called him an okay manager.
I said he was a good manager.
Well, I felt a little sarcasm.
No, I wasn't being sarcastic. I'd take Dave Roberts as my
manager.
manager.
Still mad over the whole Beatles thing.
I'm still mad over the whole Mookie Betts thing, if we're going to be honest. But
yeah, we knew that.
I'm going to be mad about that forever.
I'm sure John feels better that you came to his aid too.
Well, yeah, I like to help out there.
No, I'm telling you,
I feel like John and I would get along.
Yeah, you guys are both low key, super snarky.
No,
although he loves kids, so I don't know.
If so like he can go coach the kids, and then we'll hang out after with no children around.
Yeah, you guys would go. You guys like bougie places too, so
we can go. Yeah,
you can go eat together.
That's why I like.
Although he's not a drinker.
That's why I like getting paid, so I can go to my bougie places. Like that's.
He's doing some good things.
I'm just trying to afford my lifestyle,
Right. Let me ask you something. If we're talking young coaches.
Yeah, why not?
So
you gonna hit me with the Kenny Dillingham?
No.
That dude's like 31.
Dude, so and I know we gotta go to break. Have you listened to Dicker in Pullman?
Not a ton.
So he's an old school throwback. He was lamenting this past couple of weekends about not having any 4 or 5 stars on his roster. I know you see, you don't know what you like, because is that sustainable? You don't like the flash in the pan, fake motivation guy, but you don't like the slow burn dude either?
No, that's not it. It's not the slow burn dude. It's the guy that's like, I don't have any 4 or 5 stars on my roster. It's like, whose fault is that? Was that by choice, Dicker? You wouldn't have taken any 4 or 5 stars if they wanted to go to Pullman? I don't think so. Wow. That's my problem with that. It's not the slow burn. We got more of this show, whatever it is, coming up next.
The show will be back in 4 minutes. The show will be back in 3 minutes.
And a single tailback. Now McNamara's up under center. They run a draw. Touchdown, Iowa. Jazz Patterson scores on a counter draw over center and right guard. And I don't think he was touched, and they had everybody on the line. And a single.
The show will be back in 2 minutes. The show will be back in 1 minute. The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
And a single tailback. Now McNamara's up under center. They run a draw. Touchdown, Iowa. Jazz Patterson scores on a counter draw over center and right guard. And I don't think he was touched, and they had everybody on the line.
Take a look inside your heart. Is there any room for me? I won't have to hold my breath.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on the DB Show with Ravi Lulla. I want to tell you real quick about our friends at Rockbrook Camera. They're not just there to sell you a camera. They're about helping you become a real photographer, whatever that means for you and your life and your goals. They got you covered with the latest technology. They can give you rentals if you need to try some stuff out or just need something temporarily, or you can trade in your old gear to get an upgrade. Check them out at 168th and Center in Omaha or 70th and Pioneer in Lincoln, or go to rockbrookcamera.com for any time you want to shop. We are joined now by our friend Chad Leistikow from the Des Moines Register. He covers Iowa, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Chad, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, Chad. Good morning to you.
Thank you. It's a good morning in Iowa.
Is it a good morning in Iowa? It seems like it was a little bit of a tough weekend. How has the reaction been since the Penn State game, where the offensive struggles seem to pick back up right where they left off from last year? Is it more of, hey, we're all in on Brian Ferentz getting on him now, or is there a little bit of credit going to Penn State on this one?
Oh, it's it's full meltdown here for sure. I think the certainly the center of the face of the offense is still Brian Ferentz, and that's where most of the vitriol still goes. Because I think if you look at it objectively, I mean, you basically change your quarterback, to somebody who's proven. You bring in a couple transfer wide receivers. You've got what you think are pretty good running backs, and even a new tight end in Eric All, and the numbers have gotten even worse. So the common denominator obviously is the offensive coordinator, the offensive scheme, all that stuff. And so there's naturally a ton of frustration. Now, you have to kind of give this the full picture of perspective. Penn State played amazing. Terrible matchup for Iowa, as it turns out. Off the edge, they couldn't block them. That's very concerning on a lot of levels. It kind of goes to show that Iowa is really struggling against these elite teams with elite personnel. But in the Big Ten West, they do okay. And that's also part of the frustration, because it's like, how excited do you get about, winning the West when you're just going to get drilled in Indy, even if you do win the West. So I think all those things are kind of bubbling up right now. I think Cade McNamara is getting a little bit of heat from the outside, and certainly the offensive line coach is getting some heat. He's in his third year. So nobody's really safe right now. Even Kirk Ferentz, I've seen, a lot of people are just done with the Ferentz era all of a sudden. So, it's a chance this week to kind of feel good again if you play a good game against Michigan State. But, I think a lot of fans are just sort of like just about ready to check out on this offense for good.
Chad, this is fascinating, just covering this for so long with Iowa, because there is this model of consistency and waited out and biding your time. And listen, we know what's kind of going on with Barta and that situation in the leadership, where people are with Coach Ferentz. If you go macro versus micro, can the fan base wait this out for their shot to be a player in the West without foreseeing the seemingly inevitable future in that you're not competing with anybody in the East? Like, what is the dynamic of consistency like versus, man, we're just prolonging the inevitable?
Yeah, that's it's really a fascinating dynamic, and I feel like it really plays out in a pretty profound way, because you think about, and I wrote this after the game, you think about 2 years ago, Iowa beats Penn State and is on top of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, number 2 in the national ranking, 6-0. But ever since that game, it's been tough. It's been not good. They're 15-10 in that time, which is an okay record. But you look at the losses in there. There's 7 losses by a combined 225 to 54 of those 10 losses. And I dare people to go through that schedule and find me one signature win. You can't do it. The best one I could find was home against Wisconsin last year, and that's a Wisconsin team that fired Paul Chryst, had an interim coach, and your offense gained 146 yards in that game. So and you lose to a bad Iowa State team at home. You lose to a Nebraska team that's got an interim coach, and you lose 9-6 at Illinois. You beat South Dakota State with 2 safeties. It's just not palatable. And so, yeah, you wonder where this goes and how much stock you even put in. Let's say Iowa goes 7-1 the rest of the way. That's pretty good. But, the competition does not look good in the West this year. So I think all that you sort of weigh, and you take the good and you got to look at the bad pretty harshly, because Iowa used to compete with Ohio State, with Michigan, with Penn State. And we've now seen them get completely blown out by those teams in the last couple of years. Michigan 42-3 in the title game. Michigan 27-14 last year, but that game was completely controlled by the Wolverines. And then Ohio State 54-10 last year. They only scored a defensive touchdown for Iowa. And then, of course, 31-0 at Penn State, which might have been the worst of the bunch, which is hard to believe. So, really interesting discussion for sure.
Chad, I'm curious how you see this ending with Kirk Ferentz. Whether I don't think it's going to be this year, but we're obviously getting toward the end of the Kirk Ferentz era sooner or later, as he's 68 years old. I don't know how it's going to react when it seems like the inevitable firing of his son happens. I mean, it just seems like this thing is kind of doomed to end poorly for a guy that's been there forever, been largely really successful there. How much have you thought about how the end game plays out with Kirk Ferentz?
Yeah, I have been thinking about that actually, because I'm wondering, and he will never answer this on the record, until the end. But if you know that this is your son's last year's offensive coordinator, and I think there's a lot of scenarios in which it is. I mean, either he moves on. I mean, he can't be having any fun,
right?
Any enjoyment in his job right now. And you wonder, how long he can keep this up. Even, if he does get the 25.1 points per game, like, is that going to be an enjoyable life to be continued to be hated by your fan base? As Brian, when I'm talking about Brian here, and you just wonder as a father, does he want to break in a new offensive coordinator? Is he willing to, march on with the university, athletic department that might fire his son, against his will? So yeah, it could get really ugly. And I think the only scenario where it doesn't get ugly is if the Iowa offense somehow, and you don't really see this happening, but somehow kind of turns it around, breaks out, has a strong next 8 games, wins the West, and then goes to Indy and is competitive somehow against whoever that opponent is. So that's probably about the only way you see it kind of trending back in a decent direction, where it's a Kirk / Brian. There is some good feelings about that. Now, the fans, I think, at large, love Kirk still, are loyal to him, but they're not loyal to Brian. And so, yeah, how does this end? Oof, yeah, it does not seem like it's going to end well whenever this ends.
So, Chad, it's interesting because talking about all things that usually are associated with Iowa, it typically starts with good offensive line play, and it has been shaky at best the last handful of years as they've tried to, reaffirm who they want to be offensively. What's the direct correlation, Chad, between the offensive line play and how folks feel about Brian Ferentz?
Well, a lot of people would be okay with Brian Ferentz being quote unquote demoted to offensive line coach and to get a new coordinator, because Iowa's offensive line was really quite good when Brian Ferentz was the offensive line coach. I mean, they won the Joe Moore Award in 2016 with him as coach. 2015 they go 12-0. And even with a kind of a banged up offensive line, averaged 30 plus points a game with, a coordinator everyone hated in Greg Davis. So, I think that people might be content with something like that. I just don't know if that's in the cards. But yeah, George Barnett, third-year offensive line coach, has not gotten any results. Kirk Ferentz completely stands by him, says he's an outstanding coach. And then you're starting to wonder, what does Kirk Ferentz still have it when it comes to the offensive line? I mean, that's supposed to be his bailiwick. That's his area of expertise, and the line play has not been good. He kind of stood on the fact that the line would be improved this year at Big Ten Media Days. You saw evidence of that in the first 3 weeks. Now, this last week was a huge step back in that department, obviously. So, I think I would guess when we talk to Kirk later today, he's going to point to, that this was one bad game. They're going to, keep improving, get back to work. And, I think they probably have confidence that it's going to look better this week. And next week against Purdue at home.
That's just it. That's what's made him good, though. The ability to keep moving this is a terrible analogy, but to keep moving the ball forward, right? Like, that's his thing.
Despite not being able to move the ball forward.
Yeah, right. This reminded me, and he didn't quite go along with this analogy, but it reminds me of when Iowa just got, destroyed at Penn State in 2016. 599 yards of offense for Penn State. Saquon Barkley ran crazy. Trace McSorley. It was 41-14 loss in Happy Valley. That was supposed to be a really good Iowa team. And they were 24-point underdogs the next week at home against number 2 Michigan. They came home and beat Michigan 14-13 on a last-second field goal. So that's kind of Kirk.
That's Chad Leistikow from the Des Moines Register. Chad, we appreciate your time. Really good stuff there. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Chad.
Coming up next, we've got Mike J. Schaefer. I'm sure with the way things have been going this morning, that'll be a fun interview.
A couple of angry guys I'll be talking to.
More of I'm not angry. I'm thrilled to be here on Benning and Lulla on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The show will be back in 4 minutes. The show will be back in 3 minutes.
Who are struggling, it's really hard to do this. If you're sore, you go see the recovery guys, right? And even when you're feeling great, you still have to get in the ice and make sure your body's being taken care of. Well, it's the same thing with your mental health, mental wellness, mental approach, right? When you're really struggling to see somebody, but when you're kind of going along, we're still working constantly on our mindset and our mental health and our mental approach and setting our mental health and our mental approach. Competitive mindset, and on the other mindset, elite competitive mindset, and on the other end, probably you have this is my take. This is Dr. Bear.
The show will be back in 1 minute. Mike Schaefer.
Elite competitive mindset, and on the other end, probably you have, and this is my take, this is Dr. Bear.
Mike Schaefer.
Elite, when you're kind of going along, we're still working constantly on our mindset.
The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents The Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Elite competitive mindset, and on the other end, probably you would have, and this isn't my take, this is the Dr. Perry at the Carolina or Dr. Haskell, true mental illness, and then we're all always somewhere in the continuum, right? So we tell our guys, man, if you broke your leg, you're going to see the trainer, right? And if you're sore, you go see the recovery guys, right? And even when you're feeling great, we still ask you to get in the ice and make sure your body's being taken care of. Well, it's the same thing with your mental health and mental wellness and mental approach, right? When you're really struggling, you see somebody, but when you're kind of going along, we're still working constantly on our mindset and our mental health and our mental approach. And
kicking off hour number 3 on a Tuesday that has gone strictly according to plan on the DB show with Ravi Lulla. You want things to go according to plan, you got to go over to our friends at Warhorse Sportsbook. They are the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. Make sure you get on out there. You can also, you have to place your bets in person, but you can build your bets on the app. You get live lines, and then you go to the casino, scan the QR code, and place your bet right there. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory.
I didn't give you a chance to finish your, you're getting ready to go on another mini rant.
Oh, about Dickert?
Yeah.
Well, listen, okay.
No, but hang on, though. So this is from Adam McClintock, who is as good at what he does as anybody in their profession, right? That's why people ask him about coaching hires.
Agreed.
And he said, for what it's worth, Ravi, no, he didn't say your name in particular. I ad-libbed that a little. Dickert and Lanning have nearly identical rating profiles in our database. 2 different philosophies, but both get results. Exactly why we tend to zero in on numbers. They're never subjective to preference of style, just results given on a certain situation. That's why, and Dickert gets no run, right? And I know you rolled your eyes. You're like, I wasn't saying... listen.
Yes. Okay.
So when he's like, "Hey, it's about culture. It's about being there for one another." The whole sum and the parts deal. Like he just went on and on about, "I've got no 4 and 5 stars. Like we're all this."
That's where I rolled my eyes. Because listen, I think Dickert's a really good football coach, and McClintock's numbers back it up. I do want to sit down with Adam and just get really deep into like what their model looks like.
It's a scary place to be.
I know, but it's really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I don't disagree that he's a really good football coach. Where I rolled my eyes, where he's like, I don't have any 4 and 5 stars. It's like, that wasn't by choice, my guy. It's not like 4 and 5 stars are banging down the door to come to Pullman, Washington, and being like, "Oh, dear God, Dickert, please let me play for you." And you have to turn them away. And so Oregon's like, "Oh, I guess we'll take them." Like, that's not what's happening there. Yes, it's impressive to win with 3 stars.
Why do you hate context, though? That's not what he's saying.
What do you think he's saying?
He's saying we're doing this in spite of not having a lot of guys that are highly rated.
And it's impressive that they're doing that, but he's throwing out that we don't have any 4 and 5 stars. Like, what is he trying to prove there? What's the point?
I just told you.
It's like, okay, so I'm not good enough at recruting, and so
he hasn't had enough time. Like, it's Pullman. You ever been there?
No one has.
I haven't. It's pretty small and pretty lousy, but that's okay.
No, I get that, but that's part of his job too. Like, it's not like a situation where he's not in control of the roster. So that's where I have a hard time. Like, yes, he gets
that's not true in its entirety.
Okay.
You can't always control who wants to come to your school.
I understand that. But at the end of the day, he's responsible for the roster, right? So you don't get credit for having a mid-roster if you still want credit for being a good coach.
No, wait a minute. Now, nobody's saying, like, hey, look at my wife. I love her, but she's pretty average. I couldn't get who I wanted. That's not what he's saying.
No, but that's the truth of the situation.
You
can't tell me he didn't want the 4 and 5 stars. No, you can't tell me he didn't want the 4 and 5 stars. So you don't get credit for striking out and doing the best with what you got. That's what happened with him. That's what happens at these places. And listen, it's impressive. And if you can win it with 3 stars, awesome. If you can develop those guys into draft prospects, awesome. That's one of the things we like about Rhule.
Wow, right? You're getting a
what?
Hey, I know my wife may not be for everyone, but she's mine. I couldn't do any better.
Hypothetically, by the way.
But that's what you're trying to get me to believe.
Do you think that's wrong? in the situation with Dickert? You don't think he wants 4 and 5 stars? You don't think he wants 4 and 5 stars?
You may not be for everybody, Damon, but we got Mike Schaefer on the line. He's for everybody.
Don't tell Mike that.
You're telling me he doesn't want 4 and 5 stars?
Well, I'm sure he'd take a few. Doesn't mean they fit. Doesn't mean they fit his culture.
Yo, so you think he's turning away 4 and 5 stars because they don't fit his culture right now?
Brady Hoke wished he would have at Michigan a few times.
Okay, Michigan's a little different than Washington State. You think?
See, here we
you
go.
think Dickert's turning away 4 and 5 stars because they don't fit his culture?
I do think people that have conviction about culture are very leery about who is invited.
I don't think a single 4 and 5 star has ever been like, I'm dying to come to Pullman. Please take me. And he's like, nah, we good.
Wow.
Let's talk to Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7. What do you got today for us? Mike, how are you?
I'm okay. My internet just decided right now to stop working. So apologies for coming in late. But I'm willing to just kind of sit back and listen to you guys kind of talk about Washington State's 4 and 5 star recruiting problem.
So he doesn't like any of these coaches, even though they all have.
That's not true. I think Dickert's a really good football coach.
Even though they all have different styles. We're mad at Deion because he's brash. Lanning woke up on third base. Dickert's too woe is me. Rhule's too consistent with the message. It's just like what are we looking for? That's kind of where we're at with this conversation. Schaefer, go ahead.
That kind of speaks to a larger conversation. Everybody's just mad about everything all the time, right? It's just kind of
Robbie,
where we're at.
He bashed Dave Roberts, only gave him credit for being a bench runner
I didn't bash Dave Roberts. I said he was a good manager.
I mean,
they haven't won a lot of World Series for how much talent they have, but whatever, okay.
See,
am I wrong? Am I wrong?
That's the kind of stuff we're on.
Have they won a lot of World Series considering how talented they are?
Well, they have lost to the World Series champs. So
I mean it's not... you're that much talented. You got, just maybe you win a couple more.
Wow,
that's all I'm saying.
Hey, Schaefer, how about Tua? How about Tagovailoa? Was he pretty good this week?
I'm not here to talk about production. I'm only here to talk about theoretical talent that only I can see, Damon.
It's not theoretical.
If I don't throw touchdowns in 13 games to start my career,
it's not theoretical. Everybody saw it.
More than most quarterbacks in the league that have started for 10 years. But hey, generational talent is the eye of the beholder, and it doesn't matter if you can't see it or if it's not visible in the box score.
I mean, listen, if you want to go all like Dickert and have like underrated quarterbacks and just like be like, oh, hey, I couldn't get the 4 and 5 stars, but this guy's doing okay for me. That's fine. Listen, I admitted in that conversation that Tua is playing the position better than Trevor Lawrence right now. But playing the position and having natural talent are not the same thing. Listen, is Trevor ever going to be as good as Tua? I have no idea. But physically, he's more impressive. That's true.
I'm not sure how I can have a conversation about talent if production isn't part of it. Like at some point, Trevor Lawrence has to produce.
No, he doesn't. You can be incredibly talented and never produce anything. That's true.
Well, then you have to have the real conversation about what the talent is that you think is so talented.
100%.
Physically, he is physically talented. That's all I'm saying.
100%. I'm with you, Shay.
Well, I guess I agree in the sense that to get into the NFL, you have to be physically talented. So I 100% agree that Trevor Lawrence is physically talented.
I don't know if he's got any of the other things to become productive at a high level consistently in the NFL. And I never claimed that I did or that he did. What I am saying.
The whole thing was generational talent, which is to me the idea that you're an exceptional player in every aspect.
He has exceptional physical talent. That's what I was saying.
Isn't that true of everyone in the NFL?
No, come on, man. You can't tell me that, I don't know, pick a guy. Like Brock Purdy doesn't have the same talent level that Trevor Lawrence does. Come on, man.
Okay, so we're talking about the 1% of the 1%, and we're going to say that there's not exceptional talent of all of it. So when you say generational talent, what you're saying is that Trevor Lawrence is of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
In the NFL, physically, I think he is at NFL quarterbacks. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Does he have any of the other things you need? I don't know. But physically, he is that. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay. Well, then I guess we agree that he physically has the talent to play the quarterback at the NFL spot.
Schaefer, before we get to recruiting in Nebraska, let me ask you one question about quarterbacks. Did you think that did you want the Vikings to spike the ball and make it, what would that have been, second down as opposed to rushing before they threw the pick? Did you feel like that moment got away from them?
Yeah, I mean, it clearly did, just based on, I don't think the design was to run 20 seconds off your own clock when you need to score. But the part of the conversation that drives me insane is that despite all of that, he put the ball on the hands of the highest paid tight end in the league, who didn't catch it, and not only doesn't catch it, bats it up into the air for an interception. This, by the way, was the third touchdown pass that he threw in that whole, run of events. That never gets talked about. It's only, they didn't clock it. They win the game if TJ Hawkinson does what he's in there to do. They win the game if well, actually, I don't know that because their defense has to come back onto the field. So I should stop short of that. They take the lead if KJ Osborne catches the very first pass, which was a touchdown. They take a lead if Jordan Addison catches the tip ball in the back of the end zone. Difficult catch. I just watched the Chargers score a go-ahead touchdown on a tip ball. So I know it can be done. They take the lead if TJ Hawkinson catches it there. So it's one of those things we could talk about whether he should have clocked it or not. What he did was he gave him a chance to win the game, and his teammates failed.
Yeah, I love it. Mike Schaefer not here for the Kirk Cousins slander. Schaefer.
I haven't slandered Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I know.
Don't look at me.
We have our fair share of back and forth snark, Schaefer, but typically I think we're kind of lockstep, which is weird. And I just got my.
Well, and it's not that Cousins was perfect. I mean,
I understand.
Score inside their red zone earlier and everything else. But I'm just saying, in that moment, everyone just wants to pile on the quarterback, and especially when it's Kirk Cousins, when it's like, who helped him in that scenario? No one, other than Justin Jefferson, who he didn't throw the ball to.
So speaking of getting help from the quarterback spot, Nebraska's going to need some. No, it fits right in. Nebraska's going to need some on Saturday. Can Nebraska's staff afford to look at this, Schaefer, and say, okay, either we can get these guys some help, or based on our roster, which quarterback needs the least amount of help? Which way would you be looking at this if you're Nebraska?
Probably the second, I guess. But it's hard because I don't know that there's a great delineation of the two, in just that second category. Like, obviously, other people are going to have to step up, but I don't know that there's a way that, 4 games in, that you can just say, all right, well, with this quarterback, this wide receiver is going to be able to help us more. No, I think you're sort of just stuck with what you are and what you have. And so I don't know that there's a big difference personnel-wise, or there's any shift that they can do to completely change what they are, which is a pretty flawed offense at every phase. And their best player is the quarterback, regardless of which of the two quarterbacks it is. And then on top of it, it doesn't feel like there's a big gap between those two quarterbacks at the moment. So it's, it doesn't paint a particularly rosy picture when you're talking about Michigan coming in.
We're talking with Mike J. Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports, who was really nice to me when I did his podcast on Sunday, being kind of mean to me now. But
it's okay. Robbie's nice to me 99% of the time when we're not on the show either. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. We all can take it.
Did you find it interesting, Schaefer, that Rhule basically came out and said yesterday, it's like, yeah, we're trying to be Michigan. Like, that's not usually something it seems like coaches are comfortable saying, that they're sort of emulating someone else. But it seemed like that's what Rhule was saying about Harbaugh and the way he's put it together for Michigan. I guess, am I reading too much into that that's what he was saying, or how did you take that?
I would take it as this. I think both of those guys went and coached in the NFL, obviously Harbaugh with a higher degree of success. And then he was already kind of doing this at Stanford, but he runs a team and that looks and acts like an NFL team. Like, they don't, if you were going to transpose like a college team and put it in the NFL, and I'm not saying from a talent standpoint, but like how they sort of do things, it feels like Harbaugh has an equivalent to sort of what happens in the NFL with his college football program. I could see where Rhule would want to build something relatively similar. You build around things that, are replaceable to a degree once you get it kind of established, which is you put together the offensive line and the defensive lines. You work off of that. You try to get an athlete at quarterback with somebody that can still help you in the passing game. You run kind of a pro style offense. You work the clock. You basically play a three-phase style of football. I mean, what I'm describing is also what Matt Rhule tried to do at Baylor too. So it's not, when he's saying that, he's probably being complimentary because this is a team that's coming in. But the identity of what they're both trying to do isn't vastly different. And it's not like Rhule's really sacrificing or changing who he is to try to be sort of like what Michigan has built, because it seems to me that's a large part of what he was at Baylor too.
Schaefer, I'm kind of hearing this narrative, and I'm not buying it. So don't take my opinion. I'm curious to get yours. That we'll see if Nebraska is fill in the blank this week against Michigan, and it centers around typically, well, we'll see if they're that good against the run, or if this defense is really what we think it is. And I'm like, I'm not tucking, but I'm just saying I don't think this is the type of offense where you get that sort of litmus test. It presents its own unique challenges, but I'm not sure I'm going to learn more or less over this weekend with regards to how Nebraska can play defense. Is that fair or foul?
I think it's fair because, and my rationale would be there's only one of Michigan on their schedule. There's nobody else like this. So what you learn from this game, to me, is sort of where Nebraska is talent-wise, how long they can hang in a game like this against Michigan if Michigan's able to do what they want. Can Nebraska adjust to a team that might have a greater talent disparity than anybody they've played so far? I mean, you could make a case, and including Colorado, of overall depth. Nebraska's had as much, if not more, talent than almost all of their opponents so far. So this is the first time where that is unequivocally not true. And so for me, what we're going to learn has less to do with how Tony White's 3-3-5 holds up against Michigan's offensive line, and more to do just about where the talent overall for the program is relative to what, they want to be something. So I don't look at this like, oh, if they give up 200 yards rushing, it's a fraud, tear it down, start over, because you're not playing that team again this year. I mean, the best rushing team that you're going to face is Wisconsin, and half of the games in the games are terrible until they figure it out. And then, the other portion of the time, they never really are able to run the ball that successfully. So I don't really look at this as kind of we're going to know exactly everything about Nebraska's defense after this game, because you're not going to see another team like this. So it doesn't really matter. So, if they can be good enough for what's on their schedule, why do we care if it's not good enough against an SEC team that they're not going to play anyway? Like, I just think we get into the comparison mode when it doesn't matter. What matters is who's on your schedule.
Schaefer, could I make the argument that it's pretty similar to what Iowa just experienced with Penn State, where they were obviously not in the same class as the Nittany Lions, but you look at the rest of the schedule, it's like, yeah, they could win every game that's left on them. They could end up being 11-1, and we don't look at this as a very good football team. Nebraska, I'm not saying they're going to go win out after Michigan, but you look at it and you say, yeah, they might look really bad on Saturday. I don't know if they will or not, but then they could be fine the rest of the year. That the situation seemed a little similar to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I guess there's a part of me that's like, why is that a bad thing if that's true? I mean, we know what this program is. If they're not able to beat Michigan or handle Michigan or hang with Michigan, that doesn't mean that the season is lost or that the progress hasn't been made or that you aren't moving in the right direction. It just means that your comparative note there isn't quite, where you want it to be. But someday you're hoping to get it to where it is. And, it's a different phase with Iowa that obviously had the same offensive coordinator and the same head coach and all of it. And they share the same last name. I don't know if people know that or not. But, their situation is how do they move forward from what they have been for a while. Nebraska's is how do we establish what we are. And so that's really the only difference. But from the standpoint of like Iowa doesn't play a lot of Penn States on their schedule, absolutely true. And they, that loss aside, they still have a great chance to go to Indy to represent the Big Ten West in the final year of divisions. And they could still be looking at a double-digit win season. Like, it was a rough loss, but in terms of, it shouldn't shake the foundation of anything they're doing, because to me, they're still on schedule for who they are as a football program, and that's ultimately what matters.
All right, so getting back to helping out the quarterbacks, if we were doing this hypothetical on a 65 snap deal, and the trend of quarterbacks running the ball 20 times a game, who's the next likely candidate to help Nebraska out offensively if there wants some sort of a semblance of balance? Or is this just who you think we've resigned ourselves to be? You need a complimentary running back, and it's QB run game. Like, how are you extrapolating, especially based on what you just said about Michigan versus the rest of the games in the Big Ten West? Is there a difference for you in terms of Nebraska's offensive evolution?
Not this year, no, because I don't think there's going to be. Well, let me take that back. I'm going to say something complimentary of Marcus Satterfield. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that or not. And it's not an original thought, and you can take it up with the person who actually said this in the press box that I'm ad-libbing from. But at one point in the second half, Brunts leans over and basically points out, every game Nebraska's made adjustments at halftime. Every game Nebraska's looked better in the second half. That tells me that they're able to see things, that they're able to learn from early in the game, which makes me feel like they should learn from the front half of the season as they work into the back half of the season. They're going to have more information about who they are, what their players can do, what they're facing, all of that kind of thing. So they, in theory, should get better as the season goes along. You look at Marcus Satterfield last year at South Carolina, they played their best football in November. So, the offense can certainly move forward. The problem I have is I don't know. I can't envision a piece that's just going to be so good on its own that it's someone that you have to account for if you're a defensive coordinator in every game. Like, I think Anthony Grant can work just fine in this quarterback run game. I think he can be pretty dangerous. I think you need him because he's a home run threat in an offense that doesn't really have it. I think right now what we've seen out of the last 3 weeks out of Billy Kemp, that's probably what he is, which is a pretty solid player, but it's probably not enough to be a super damaging, wide receiver that you're really worried about if you're a defensive coordinator. Like, it just feels like they have a collection of solid role players. Marcus Washington, when he catches football, Thomas Fedoni, all of that. It just doesn't feel like they have a star coming.
That's Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7.
Really good, Schaefer.
Schaefer, really good stuff there. Even though you were kind of mean to me, we will talk to you again next week anyway.
It's all about feelings on this show today, Schaefer.
Robbie, I'm sorry. Not really, but I'm sorry.
That's right. I'll see if we're friends later. I haven't decided yet.
Feelings.
We appreciate you, Schaefer.
Nothing more than feelings. It's almost like we didn't know that Kemp came in as about a 9-yard catch.
This is what I said before the season. I was like, if you're expecting him to be a number one, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. Coming up next, we've got the Zipline Sports Six-Pack on Benning and Lulla.
The show will be back in 5 minutes. The show will be back in 4 minutes. The show will be back in 3 minutes. The show will be back in 2 minutes. The show will be back in 1 minute. The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents The Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack, presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
It's time for the Zipline Sports Six-Pack, obviously brought to you by Zipline Brewing, that Dear Old Nebraska Brew. You know, DB's not a big beer guy, but he did just say off air, if he's going to drink one, it's going to be Dear Old Nebraska U. And not just because you're a Nebraska alum either. It's because it is.
I described it as, well, Chris asked me.
Yeah.
He goes, not
a big beer guy.
But I said if I would, because it's golden and it's light.
It's an easy drinking American lager, perfect for tailgating and enjoying the good life in all kinds of weather. Available in cans or on draft. Ask for it at your favorite Husker bar. Shano, I sent you the questions. Let's get cracking.
Question number 1.
Reports are that trades for Damian Lillard are heating up. Where would you like to see him play this year?
Anywhere but Toronto.
I'll say, you said not Toronto. It was kind of Miami earlier. I don't know how I feel about that. Where are you thinking?
I'd like to see him in a place where they could contend. Because I want to get into the discussion with Lillard of the talented versus
Is
useful.
he a winner?
The useful thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because he put up a lot of stats in Portland without a real opportunity to win.
Good stats, bad team guy.
I would like to see him in Miami.
I'll say, so Miami's your answer there?
Yeah.
I kind of...
Primarily because I like him.
Yeah. I've kind of wanted to... And I think this is mostly because I have a lot of Chicago Bulls fans in my life, and I want to give them something nice. But I don't know if they're contending in Chicago with Damian Lillard.
Well, I think we thought a couple of years ago that they were close, and then all of a sudden they can't keep guys healthy.
Yeah. And I don't know, the Vucevic trade was weird. I don't think that was the needle mover they thought it was. I mean, if I'm being a total homer, like, let's find a way to get him to Golden State. I'm just messing.
No. Can you win with Levine as your best player
in Chicago?
Yeah.
I don't think so. He's better than I ever thought he was going to be when he was a rookie and early on. But if he's like your 3 or 4, you're in great shape. If he's your 1,
probably a 2.
I think he's a 2.
He's certainly more talented than a 3.
Okay, but again, talented versus useful. If he's an overqualified 3, you're in great shape. If he's a properly slated 2, are you winning a title there, or are you just a playoff team? If he's your 1, you're not anything, right? We can agree there.
I have to think about that because it's Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic.
But if you throw Lillard into that mix, that gets interesting.
Yeah, then you probably need Ball back as a distributor, and who knows if that's ever going to happen.
Which bums me out because I love Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, me not so much.
I like certain aspects of his game a lot. Yeah. Let's go to number 2, Shane.
Question number 2.
Speaking of a properly slotted number 2, are you worried about the slow start that Joe Burrow has gotten off to?
Oh, 100%. Like I think Cincinnati's in a little bit of trouble.
You think it's a health thing or what's going on there?
Well, I think it's a health thing. And, so much of what he does is about kind of the improv and seeing things ahead of time.
Feel, anticipation.
And I just don't think he's comfortable.
Yeah. He didn't look comfortable
in the
last
pocket,
night.
right? He was, sailing balls and couldn't really step into them. And welcome back Jamar Chase, though, right? But because he was getting busy. But they need I'm worried about his health. I'm also a little bit worried about the offensive line. And your division is better. We said this in the preseason.
That AFC North is
everybody's
really
better
good
than they were a year ago, which is why I made them the regression candidate.
Early on, you look like you're right there.
I said
early on. I said early on.
Way to go.
I said early on.
Cleveland is winning, and Watson still is just
really bad. Not he's really bad. He had one of the worst plays I've ever seen on Sunday.
But he's winning
so far. Shane, let's go number 3.
Hey, Bengals, Steelers, Titans.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Would you rather?
This is a Damon specific question.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. I don't want to read this.
You want me to do? I'll do it. All right. Here's the question. Would you rather eat only vegetables for a week or have to introduce yourself to every person you come in contact with full first name for full last name?
Veggies.
You going veggies all day?
Every person I come in contact with?
Yes. People that already know you, every person you interact with for a week. You have to go
like
full first, full
even
last.
like at Costco and stuff like that?
If somebody talks to you, you got to go full first, full last. I know you hate veggies.
Man, I might go first name, last name. Because I feel like I can control that a little.
Who you're interacting with? Like you can minimize, you're just going to like a hole for a week?
I think, because I don't know what I would do with no protein.
That's what I mean. That's why I thought it was a good question.
Yeah, I think I go the intro first name, last name.
And you just try and limit your contact?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what if you were like
neither one of those is great?
What if you were just going to just grill like your vegetables or something? I mean, is there a way? There's just no way.
I would go raw.
There's
right.
No,
I would eat raw carrots.
Yeah.
I would go raw. I just wouldn't cook them.
Yeah.
Although I could probably get by on a couple mushroom sandwiches.
Okay. Fair.
Like like mushrooms are fire.
Fair. There you go.
I probably a nice giant portobello and I get that thing right.
So you're going veggies? You're going first name, last name? You're going back and forth on me here.
Probably first name, last name.
Okay.
I'm Damon Benning.
What's next, Shane?
Question number 4.
Is there any quarterback available that would move the needle for the Jets if they acquired them?
Yeah, bring Henne out of retirement.
You want Chad Henne?
Because I'm being realistic.
Well, that's what I'm asking though. So because part of this is Joe Namath going hard on Zach Wilson.
Oh yeah, he went all.
He went hard in the paint.
Was that on Michael K's show?
Yeah. So, but does Chad Henne move the needle? Like, what is that? What does Chad Henne make the Jets?
So I think you have to be able to play catch. They're good enough. You can't be scrambling around, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, throwing the ball out.
You need
of bounds.
basic execution.
You just need.
Which Henne probably gives you.
You need a guy that can put you in proper pass protection.
But what's their ceiling with Chad Henne?
How old is he? How old is Henne? He's got to be 40.
He's got to be pushing 40. What's their ceiling with somebody like Henne though?
Get you to the playoffs.
38. So that's doable. What about like Blaine Gabbert's the backup in Kansas City? Does he do it?
Maybe.
Somebody like that.
Yeah.
Because you got to be like, who's available, right? You could go get Jameis, but he's going to make too many mistakes probably.
Although Jameis wasn't bad.
He was clean enough. He's been cleaner in New Orleans than he was in Tampa. See, Jameis is a little interesting because there's a little bit higher level talent than some of these guys. So if he does play clean, maybe he raises their ceiling a little bit more. But
Doesn't
a big
like
if.
2014 seem like eons ago for Jameis?
Yes.
Winston?
It's still
only been 9 years.
I was looking back at his college stats. I still can't believe he went number 1. He had 18 interceptions.
And I think the year before he blew up, he was like 35-13 or something like that. Touchdowns.
Yeah, it was 40-10 as a freshman when he won the Heisman and they won the national title. But in the year before he went out, because he only played 2 years, 25-18. Those aren't good numbers.
I know.
It's a lot of picks. What's next, Shane?
Was Joe drinking during that interview?
No, he said, isn't he on the wagon? Is it on or on? Whatever the wagon is.
Because falling off the wagon is
whatever he is. I thought he was on the wagon.
He might be. I don't know.
Yeah, he went off the other day, though. But dude said, I've seen enough.
Wow. Question number 5.
If you were to move outside of Omaha, where would you live?
Charlotte.
Fair enough.
Big Charlotte guy?
Yeah.
From your Carolina days?
Yeah, loved Charlotte.
Okay. I'd probably go Chicago. I like Chicago.
To me,
I'd go like suburbs of Chicago. So you're close enough that you can go do the fun stuff. But my best friend also lives in Chicago, so I hang out with him, like have a good time.
I think Charlotte would be amazing, and I would get good food.
They do have very solid food in Charlotte. It's basically their entire downtown is just restaurants.
Yeah, like grits.
I'm not complaining.
Grits would be a side, and good grits.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a grits guy.
I haven't been.
I had grits in Minneapolis.
I think I'm probably actually going to be in Charlotte this winter.
Okay.
Yeah, my guy coaches down in Carolina. I'll probably make a little trip. Go see him.
Fantastic city. Beautiful.
Last one here, Shane.
Question number 6.
You're dealing with Caleb's recruitment now. If you could go back and tell yourself something during your recruiting process, what would it be?
Take your visits.
So you didn't take any visits?
I took 2.
You took Nebraska and then
not including
Nebraska. Okay, where'd you go?
Illinois and Iowa State.
Okay. Was anyone close to Nebraska? Like, did you seriously consider going anywhere else?
No, but I did hold out as long as I could to see what happened with baseball.
Okay.
And then I was told to speed it up.
To go ahead and get on the train.
Well, we're filling up and take a lot of guys. Yeah,
that's a good TO impression there.
I get it, Coach. I'm on it.
That is your Zipline Sports 6-pack. We really appreciate our friends over at Zipline. Make sure you go try that dear old Nebraska brew wherever you like to have your Husker game day experience. Coming up next to talk about Michigan, we've got Sam Webb here on Benning and Lulla.
We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes. We will be back in 1 minute. We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Watching it from the perspective I had, like maybe there's been too much put on the players of they got to win by 40 points or 30 points or 25 points. That's a lot. And make sure our team knows that's the goal is to win the game.
Wrapping up the show here on the DB Show with Ravi Lulla. I want to tell you real quick about our friends at Pratt Dental. I know you're listening out there in ESPN Tri-Cities, or if you're even listening on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, maybe you need to head out to Pratt Dental in North Platte, Nebraska. They've got the BioClear method and modern smile designed to correct many aesthetic dilemmas in a permanent and less invasive manner than traditional treatments. Go check out Pratt Dental. Give them a call at 308-221-2800 for more information. And for more information about Michigan, we're going to turn to our friend Sam Webb from the Michigan Insider. Sam, how are you this morning?
Doing great. How about you?
Good, Sam. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
So I have a couple of specific questions, and I know Coach Harbaugh is not into aesthetics, and he's all about wins. But how much is it like pretty much tailor-made with the way the clock rules go and how Michigan likes to play? I mean, he's a shorten the ball game kind of guy anyway, isn't he? I mean, they're built to play this way.
Yeah, I mean, do I think that they would like to be, rolling more than they have rolled at the early point of the season? Of course. They had I think they had 44 offensive snaps in the Bowling Green games, and turnovers kind of lent itself to that. But, again, this is not a style points kind of guy. I think the early season for them is very functional as far as growing their run game, even beyond where last year was. I mean, they are a really beastly run game. They are the second time they won the Joe Moore Award. But coming into this season, you replaced a couple of parts, including your Remington Award center, who's on with the Seattle Seahawks now. So you had to get some new guys gelled in, but you also needed to adjust to what teams started to try to do to you at the end of the season as far as slowing down your run game a little bit. Illinois did. Ohio State they ran over, but TCU had some decent success slowing them down on the ground, as did the first couple of opponents. So Michigan, I think the first 4 weeks of the season really been, working on that run game to the point where they're adding some new wrinkles. I think there are wrinkles that are going to be really, really beneficial down the line in the season.
Yeah, Sam, you mentioned those wrinkles. The first 4 games could be described as workmanlike. How much do you feel like they're maybe holding back isn't the right word, but haven't unveiled some of those wrinkles that you mentioned yet? And I guess when do you anticipate those starting to come out? Are they really going to wait until Penn State in mid-November? Or do you anticipate seeing some of that before then?
So I think we see wrinkles every single week. I think when people think offense and offensive growth and advancement, they think about it as it relates to the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And, are there aspects of the passing game that they've held back? Sure, there are. I think there are going to be some different things they try, especially with Donovan Edwards in the pass game. But we've seen new wrinkles every week in the run game. People just don't pay as much attention to that. And maybe it doesn't result in wild plays that are as big right now. But, I think the early part of the season has been really focused on how do they grow their perimeter run game, especially. They've been an inside run team, or inside run heavy team, and very, very effectively. But teams have kind of, figured out some ways to, if they're going to sell out, they can sell out and slow down Michigan some on the inside. So wrinkle they added this past week with including J.J. McCarthy more pulling the ball on some of their staple runs.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice wrinkle down the stretch.
Now, Sam, I've got a couple of resident Michigan fans, experts, if you will, probably more than a handful. And one of my guys really likes to get in the minutia. And I've been saying for the last 2-3 weeks, what's wrong with Edwards? He just hasn't seemed to get it going. And, my buddy was telling me just trying to do too much, not really patient, looking for home runs. And he had to sit down for a little while against Rutgers. Is it just simply feeling your way along some of the new concepts for Edwards that has gotten him off to this slow start? Because it hasn't seemed to affect Corum at all.
Well, I think running back is very often, for a lot of guys, a rhythm position. And I think that rhythm is more inherent in the usage plan that we've seen for Blake Corum. Like, you're going to get Blake, when he's in the game, is going to get back-to-back here, not on consecutive plays, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to be in for a series. He's going to get 2 or 3, 4 carries in a series. In the third game, was against Bowling Green, they started to adapt the usage plan in a way that would cater to rhythm as much as it did to balancing touches. Like, they were really focused on making sure they got equal touches the first couple of games. By game 3, it was like, okay, let's see if we can work on making sure Donovan is in for 3-4 carries in a row or touches in a row. And that's a really important point. See if we can get him in a rhythm. So, yes, I think he's still feeling his way as a runner. He's a different runner than Blake, too. That's the other thing you got to take into account. It's kind of like Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. Like, Emmitt is always north and south. And that's kind of like Blake in this mix. Donovan he does look for the home run. I mean, think about the Purdue game, the Big Ten championship game. That touchdown he had, the best run of the year, the dude went completely away from where the play was supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And ran through like 3 or 4 tacklers to get there. So there's going to be some of that. I don't think that was necessarily the issue. These early games, patience. I think getting to the point where he's feeling the game a little bit better is kind of what he's doing right now. And then also using him in the passing game. That's where you felt him most in in the game against Rutgers, and I think they're really going to be focused on that a lot moving forward too.
We're talking to Sam Webb from Michigan Insider. Sam, there was a lot of talk in the preseason of J.J. McCarthy kind of making a leap in his second year as a starter from very solid to sometimes special looking in 2022 to maybe potential Heisman hopeful in 2023. In the first few games of the season, do you feel like he's made that leap, or there's still a little bit of ways to go there?
Yeah, I do think he's made a leap. I think people were kind of thrown off it a bit by his bad game against Bowling Green with 3 interceptions there. I think it kind of put him off script a little bit, but it was momentary because, JJ is not a guy who turns the football over. I mean, he takes great care of the football. So you could tell that he was going to snap back into it really, really quickly. What you see from him is a guy that has a fuller grasp of the offense, who takes what the defense is giving him. Teams aren't giving him shots. They call shots every game, and you haven't seen any, kind of big over-the-top plays down the football field. They aren't giving them those. I think eventually that dam is going to break too. He's doing a great, great job, especially between the hashes. He's been more accurate this year. I think it's going to be a matter of, can he capitalize on some of those big plays and then get back closer to where he was in game 1 and game 2. Game 3 was closer to that. Game 4 was closer to that. Game 3 was kind of off script. I think you'll see against Nebraska and the teams coming up, you'll see him kind of revert to his form that he showed in the first couple games.
It seems like you guys are playing an unlimited amount of defensive linemen, and Colson is doing his thing at the linebacking spot. How dominant, in your opinion, could this defense end up being?
Yeah, it's about this front is better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Mason Graham is a beast. They're certainly going to miss him, but not terribly, because Kenneth Grant has been a revelation. I think through the first 4 games of the season, he's been the guy that I felt the most in both the run and the pass game.
Benny's a stud.
Ben, and he's a backup, and Kenneth Grant's a backup.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins is being talked about as a first-round guy, and they have more depth on the edge this year. So to me, what they've done this season as a run defense especially, I think projects. I think the thing that you're looking to see is, will they be able to get consistent heat on the passer with 4 without bringing blitz pressure? Last year, they had to bring blitz pressure often to get pressure. This year, they still blitz, but I would think, without looking at the numbers, the blitz rate is down. I think they would like for that to be there. And now as you get your secondary back, your freshman All-American corner, Will Johnson, just got back in the starting lineup in the last game. Rob Moore, one of the best safeties in the country, just got back in the lineup the last game. So now you're starting to get your secondary pieces back. Once you get all those pieces together, they each make one another better. You get a good secondary back there, make the defensive line better, and vice versa. I think this sets up to be a better defense than one they had last year.
Hey, how good can Waller Jr. be?
How good can who? You broke up there a little bit.
Waller Jr. DJ.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see down the line. We haven't really gotten a full glimpse yet this season, but I think down the line he could be really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I know in talking to some of the coaches about him in the off season, it was one of the guys that they think would be one of the sleeper guys that would step up and really break out and be one of the guys you look back on the class and say, this was a dude that everyone kind of underrated. So I think they're really, really, really high on him.
That's Sam Webb of the Michigan Insider on 247sports.com. Make sure you go check that out. Sam, we appreciate your time, and hopefully we talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
That is Sam Webb, Michigan Insider on 247 Sports. Interesting show today. That was fun.
We're on a roll now. I think this is just going to be how it goes.
Yeah, very well might be. We will be back with you tomorrow. As long as DB decides to show up again.
We'll check on the friendship status.
We'll see. I'll text him after the show, see what he's feeling. Thank God we don't have to talk to Schaefer for another week. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow with Benning and Lulla on Hurrdat Sports Radio.